like again.
What do you got?
We were trying to change something.
Skateboarding is a way of learning how to redefine the world around you.
The owners of this country don't care about the poor and the
Now, baby, push me. Push me again now.
Screaming out a wall.
Check 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2.
Check, check, check. Syphilis.
Periphelis.
Phallus.
Syllabus?
Red leather, yellow leather. Red leather, yellow leather.
Brown cow, meow now. Oh, we're recording.
Meow now.
What is it? Meow now. We're gonna be doing this podcast right meow.
Okay, meow. Starting meow.
What's up, you miscreants, you misfits, and outcasts? Welcome back to another episode of Screaming at a Wall.
Fuck yeah.
How the hell are you in front of me right now?
Oh, it's easy. My schedule's pretty open, so I'm not in demand. We pretty much talked about it yesterday, and now we're here. So.
And now we're here. Yeah,
you schedule it. Let me just take it again. No, my agent was just like, you got to get on the show. And I was like, fuck, I don't want to do media. I'm done with press.
Yeah. You closed down, you shut down all your social medias.
Right.
You're just, you were going to go on a trip for
Off
a couple
the grid.
years.
Yeah.
Off the grid, yeah.
I'm going to go, have an ayahuasca journey in Peru. And is that even where they do ayahuasca?
They probably do it there, but you can actually do it in Illinois. My buddy just went to Illinois, and they have like a place over there. So if you want to do it locally, there you go.
White people ruining everything. It's in Illinois. Cut.
What we do.
Have you read about the ayahuasca murders?
I haven't.
It's a fucking white dude goes down there trying to like start his own basically like retreat where you do ayahuasca and ends up like killing the shaman in the village. And then there's a video of like the whole town murdering him afterwards. But like, because with her son, he was trying to anyway.
This was on Netflix, right, or something?
I don't know. I've read about it, and then it's been on podcasts and shit. I'm like obsessed with true crime and murder shit. I always have been. Hence the fucking Gacy thing. But like,
we have to get a shot of that.
We'll get you get a cutaway. No,
yeah,
I'm just gonna start talking about shit that's off camera right off the bat,
so people don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah. So fucking anyway.
You're like a child when you're like talking to them on the phone. They're like, yeah, blah blah blah. Like you're there looking at what they're looking at. Yeah.
Right. No,
I'm not calling you a child, dude.
Rule number. No, I am a fucking infant. I have a toddler's body and a baby's mind.
I want to go back to social media and the fact that you're actually not even. It's not even close to being off the grid with social media because that's where you live.
You might say I'm on there way too much. Yeah,
way too much. Yeah, you put a lot of memes on there too.
Yeah, I repost memes like during everything that I do, as if like, and I know it's mentally unhealthy, but like if I have to kill any amount of time rather than be alone with my thoughts, I'm just like I'm at the point where like and just on Instagram, I have a Twitter, but it's mainly for shit that's getting banned from Instagram now, like sites that have like horrific videos from around the world of bad things. Mainly, I'm like one of those like 4chan internet kids that is like super addicted to the sense of my own mortality and seeing horrible things you can't unsee and things that make me feel bad and ruin my day. Like being able to watch them on my phone while I'm in line at the bank is just incredible. This modern technology. So, so that's the only reason I have a Twitter. I don't really like fucking post anything on there at all. But on Instagram, I repost memes constantly, and then I post curb clips. So if you're into fat old men at skating curbs or funny memes,
I mean, there is one
I'm your guy.
dude that's of you, but Hersk is
well, he's a golden god.
Yeah, he is.
Hercules.
Yeah. Let's bring your mic down a little bit. There we go.
Is that good for audio? Please leave that sound in.
Yeah, I don't know if you could see this, but Ira's he's already tried to assault these microphones, and now it's kind of sad because there's a bandage. I don't know if you could see it.
You're lucky I got gaff tape coming out of my wazoo.
Gaff tape is fucking gold. So going back to the social,
I broke your mic with my titty. You didn't finish the sentence. Like as I was sitting in for you, and then it caught my breast as I sat down, and it just ripped the thing off.
I
the
like how
hinges.
your version of the story is that you caught your breast.
Well,
it
the mic got in the way of my titty. Clearly, my titty had the right of way.
It was like a pullback and just. I think he smacked the shit out of the mic, and it just completely broke off. But to be fair, it was glued on. So
okay, well, that makes me feel 10% better about breaking it with my boob.
So.
We had a lot of espresso, folks.
We did. So I had a quad shot, and then this is my second or third shot.
Right.
Holy shit!
I have a machine right over there. We're gonna make more during this.
Yes, we definitely will. So, all right. So we had been actually talking about having you on the podcast, and I'd mentioned before that this is primarily like spotting like people that have done time, but. It's not always necessarily going to be that because we're going to spotlight people that are part of the scene that we love, which is punk rock, skateboarding, film, just, all that good shit. And we had actually talked, and I think when your board came out, your guest board for Heroin Skateboards, we had like talked. I was like, you know what? I'm going to capitalize on your marketing right now because you're out there, kid. Yeah, I'm going to ride the wave. We're going to get you on the show and we're going to jump on it. And now I'm really jumping on it because your board is like selling out, and
the
like
weirdest fucking thing.
And then the resell thing is a whole nother thing.
What eBay thing? Yeah.
How does it make you feel as a person, as an individual?
In a word, Kasper, awkward. It's so surreal for me. I mean, obviously, like, as a skateboarder, you're like, from the time I was a kid, you dream of like getting your name on a board, right? Or like having this like moment. And then as someone who's like a 41-year-old fucking dude that just like whatever skates for completely just for fun and therapy or whatever, it's like dream I long gave up on like years and years ago. I probably like haven't thought about this possibility in any sort of, it just doesn't seem that the ship had sailed like a long time ago. So it's surreal. And then like, I think the big part of the demand for the board is like Foss's big egg shape has been like super sought after. Like they always go pretty quick, like that's, and I have no like delusions about like, I mean, I think that there also is something there was kind of a perfect storm where the art turned out super amazing on this one. We added the razor top, to it, which adds a whole nother. I
like the razor top,
dude. It's the first very big egg with. For those of you who don't know, the very big egg is a shape like sort of an oval shape that is based off of like early or H Street graphics, H Street shape graphics.
That's an espresso, right?
Yeah, holy shit! I'm about to have a heart attack. I feel like I just did an 8-ball. Yeah. Okay, so
just don't like sniffle.
I know what that's like because I've read about it, Mom. Yeah. It's not. Yeah. It's not. I didn't go to prison because I've never committed any crimes. So off topic. Okay. So start the interview over. Okay. All right. So I'm Ira. But yeah, so this shape that Foss did, that's like, it's super nostalgic for me because I'm like someone who really like fell in love with skateboarding in the early 90s. And at that point, like the 80s fish boards had evolved into more of this like popsicle shape, which started at this oval, like they used to call them footballs, right? And what Foss did was took this, I forget whose model it was, but it was an early H Street football shape. And he sort of compressed the wheelbase and like did some other tweaks and widened it, right? Like to a point where this one is the biggest one he does, and it's a 10-inch width at the it's center mass at like the belly of the board. And it's, for me, when he started making those years ago, it just became like my favorite curb board, like that plus 215s. Those trucks, just like it, just something that I like fell in love with. And just at this point in my life, I was skating curbs early morning before work with a bunch of other people, and it really just was like really, really influential on me. So the idea that I would ever have my name on one, like, and have influence over the design of one, and all I did was like the razor top, I think it'd be cool. it was a conversation with Foss. It's not like it was all me. The razor top is completely his shit too, as far as I know. And then after, there's been like 4 drops of the board, and there's a 5th one coming. And the first one is the only one without wheel wells, and he actually added wheel wells because it is such a wide board. I skate loose trucks, but for me, I never really got a lot of wheel bite, but I think that a lot of people experience that. So I haven't skated one of these with wheel wells yet, but I have a couple that I'm excited to jump on. What was the question? You're editing this? Sorry.
No, I am not.
Fuck, man. I apologize, not necessarily in advance, but about 10 minutes into this.
Sec 1, 2. Oh yeah, here I am. I was trying to like tune down the volume.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
Have you not been there the whole time? No. It'll pick you up.
I think aesthetically though too, it's very appealing to the eye, and I think that I owned a skate shop called Underground Skate Supply, and that's how I've come to know known you.
Big fan.
I keep saying big fan. How I've come to know you. That's like the reoccurring thing. How I've come to know you, Ira, is that
it makes me feel like a prophet or like a shaman.
Yes. Not one that's going to get murdered by on some DMT ayahuasca trip. But
had a good run.
Yeah, I had a good. So that's how I met you, was through my skate shop, and you had always supported it since day one. I mean, I'm going to say since day one. It wasn't, it was like 2 years in when I got really popular.
As soon as I found out about it, I was like all on.
Yeah,
I was all
that
in.
took a while.
Yeah.
But I think as someone who owned a shop, like I think people that are not like diehard like skateboarders would just be into the graphic itself. So did you have any idea that this was going to be the graphic? Did you guys talk about the actual graphic, or was that all Foss?
Totally. Yeah, we were. He brought. So I'll kind of start at the beginning, which is like going into the pandemic and COVID and all this shit. I had like decided for like a whole bunch of reasons. Like I basically went through like a midlife crisis, and which I never thought I would.
What's that?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Fucking who would have thought? It actually happens, and sometimes they just hit you from left field. So I had like. Work had basically stopped. I do a lot of production work, and everything hit my whole life had changed in a lot of ways, and I had all this free time, and I was like, I've always wanted to film a video part. I had filmed one. I worked at a production company called 411, like a video magazine. Mm-hmm. That's where I got my start when I was younger. And
how old were you?
I was early 20s.
Early 20s?
Early 2000s. So I'm a 1980s baby, 1980. So early 2000s, I started working there as a sales rep and just like hanging out, whatever. And it filmed a part, almost a full part with Kirk Dienda, a bunch of guys who called ourselves the Street Pirates. It was like a little crew, like Brian Witt and Rick Marmolejo and fucking Rick Fu, and John Bradford and Daryl Anderson, Chris Dixon, all these like rad human beings. I'm leaving people out. Did I say Kirk Dienda?
Yes.
Okay. He was like the creative director at 401 at the time. So he was kind of making the video. Anyway, like we filmed most of a video, and then 401 got sold, and then like basically all the tapes just ended up like it was one of those. So it was like, so it was this feeling of like, oh, like we were almost there. Like I had one of the tricks I did in this video part, actually I had filmed twice for that video, and both of them got lost. So
which trick was it?
The long cricket grind down that hill. Mm-hmm. Like that's why like I even say like 20 years in the okay. Which doesn't make any sense out of context, but they put it in. But it was like a emotional moment for me. Like I ollied in the first time too. I didn't slap you. Like I ollied into this, which is.
Are you not allowed to do that?
You're allowed, but it's frowned upon by the curb community. I feel like there's certain tricks you can ollie into, like a blunt or nose blunt. Obviously, is like way more acceptable than like a crooked.
Depending on like the size of the curb, right? I mean,
a curb is like 6 inches. Anything over than that is a ledge to me.
Yeah.
8 inches is a fucking ledge.
Dude, I did that shit on a ledge. Bro.
That was a ledge. A ledge. Sorry. I'm gonna fucking.
Oh, there you go. That actually sounds.
Is it better?
I mean,
God damn it.
Yeah.
I thought that was maybe too much.
That sounds good.
What was the question? No. Okay. So I can bring this full circle. I can.
Yeah.
So then I had this midlife crisis, and decided to film a video part. And at the tail end when it was almost done, I'd mentioned I would go to Foss's house and buy eggs and stuff, you know what I mean, to skate.
Yeah.
So, I had gone to his house and was like, I got this part that I'm going to just put on the internet or whatever. It was actually going to go, at that point, I knew it was going to go in iDabble. My buddy Jordan Maxim does a video magazine now, a modern one, and that's super awesome and everyone should check it out. And he wanted to do a part with me, and or I think I actually approached him. So just to get the record straight, I was like looking for anyone to film me.
I paid him.
Yeah, I begged them to film a part with me.
$500.
Yeah, because nobody. It was hard. Anyway, so I was telling Foss that it was about to come out, and I'd filmed like mostly on the Big Egg, and I think then he was like, oh, where's it going? And I was like, it's just going online, whatever. And then then he hit me one day. I was buying boards, and he was like, would you be interested in doing like a guest model? And like I fucking was like almost cried.
I felt like you were attempting an accent there for a second. And
Dude,
then it just really quick went
I
away.
really don't want to insult Foss like that. I can't do it.
No, yeah, but he's a brilliant,
Yeah.
just really amazing.
He's from London. No, he doesn't sound
That's
like
not. That's like Brixton. He's
It's
not
not the right accent.
yeah.
He would be so upset about that. Is that the reset?
No, it's not. It's just my phone's on. Rule number 1 when you're on set.
I turned
silence.
all my, bro.
I know you're more of a professional than I am, man.
I'm head to toe, Jay.
Head to toe, yeah. So he hit you up.
Right. So yeah, and then from there, like I said, I cried or choked back tears, and then
Did you ask him what led him up to?
No, that was so surreal. I think it was the video part thing. You'd have to ask him. I don't know. I don't want to speak for the man. It still feels fake to me. I don't know, like too good to be true is probably a better way to say it than fake, but like
Too good
it's
to be
surreal.
true.
Yeah, it's surreal to me. Like the whole thing. Like, it's my favorite skateboard of all time.
Yeah.
I got to help. We're talking about what the graphic would be, which I think was your original question.
It was. We got there eventually.
Fuck me. Oh my god, 45 minutes in. We're first topic.
Like it's on fast forward. It's on. You're on like
Yeah.
we're on like times
Hope
2.
you guys have
so.
a vert button at home. So you'll put like the little video cues, like here's
will.
where he gets to the point, like in porn where it's like this is the
Filler.
This is all the position
It's
change.
like a really long point from chapter, like from filler, and then it goes all the way towards the end answer.
Yeah.
And done with the interview.
Question, bullshit. Answer 45 minutes later. So we started talking about like what this one should look like, and then like Costco, which is the background of the graphic. It's like
I didn't even know that was. I haven't really examined it.
yeah, like that's the Costco curb.
I'm
That's
an
our
idiot.
Like even the light post is our sticker light post. He put that in there. So this guy, the curb killer egg, has just destroyed the 2 double-sider curbs at Costco. So he's like just like with the hammer, he's broken them apart.
What an asshole.
He's the worst. So not the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And he, he put the Costco you can kind of see the CO in the background. Yeah. And then my only contribution to the art really was the Jason mask was because he's done all these great like the Exorcist and the space egg where it's the aliens egg opening up and like all like I think Foss and I are both like total horror movie nerds, you know what I mean? Like
his VHS collections.
yeah, he did that amazing collab with Heroin and like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is his favorite horror movie of all time. That's in my top 5, and just incredible. Like he's done so much great stuff in that horror space. But I just kind of was like, what's egg shaped? What works? What could we incorporate into this that goes with the whole like curb killer bullshit?
So the curb killer came first.
Yeah, because that's my
Right.
So I have that tattooed on my foot, and I have a. Okay, I'm gonna work as much shit that's off camera. I'm not that flexible. It's not coming up in a frame.
Let's not even go there. The microphone, the camera will fucking fall.
My titty is gonna break the other mic. Just. Oh my god! So I was on mushrooms with Brendan Klein, who's a dad now, and who definitely had nothing to do with the mushrooms. And he tattooed. We used to just go to his, like when I first moved to South Pass, we would just eat mushrooms at his place and do jailhouse tattoos, stick and pokes.
Stick and pokes,
You know, you can't call them jailhouse because I've never been to jail.
Yeah.
Proper. But, little like you wrap a needle in thread and you dip it in Indian ink and you just do stippling, like art school. And so I don't know how even Curb Killer got put on my. I don't even think I was skating curbs that much at that time. I think it was just like, I don't know, we were on mushrooms. So the same thing as like my knees say sorry, mom. That was like a big night, and you could just tell that like that was James.
Is that all stick and post?
Yeah,
Like how you're going like that.
like a lady, like a proper lady.
Like a proper lady. I can't see your balls through the shorts there.
Yeah, and then when Instagram came out, I didn't have any like I just didn't have an idea of what to do, and I didn't think I was working. I mean, it was at the very beginning, and I just used Curb Killer just because it came to my head, and then.
So this was like prior to you when you guys. Your crew of dudes skating the curbs?
Yeah,
You've
like
had that name prior?
Like 10 years.
Oh, that I didn't know.
Yeah, it's sort of the tail wagging the dog, where it's just like was a funny thing. It was more like ironic than anything, like the idea of like that being gnarly, which it's not. Like curb skating is super fun. It can be. You can get broke off, but it's like aesthetically, it's more of a fun thing. It's like where you start, right? Like I started skating curbs, and as an older 40-year-old whatever, now I'm like I've in the last like especially like 4-5 years gone back to that, like where I don't want to get hurt for work, I'm skating before work, before shoots, and I still get broke off, but like not as
it's like the cycle of life. Starting off as a baby, you have diapers and you're dribbling, and then by the time you get old, you're wearing diapers and you're dribbling.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same thing.
It's a circle. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna
no, go ahead. I want take your time, adjust.
No, I'm not gonna do it.
The diaper
right. Project. Yeah. So yeah, that's my Instagram handle is the fucking.
So you had that.
Jesus Christ! This is gonna
so you had that before. So
yeah.
When did you? I mean,
but hence the Jason mask, I guess.
The Jason mask. Yeah.
Just like,
is that the question?
Yeah. It was just like that's the.
But that's what
I wanted it to be, like a killer egg,
right?
And that was the.
It's just interesting how things really evolve and sort of come together, and sometimes they're not even intentional. They just happen, and that to me is one of the reasons that I think that it's so. I don't know. I mean, the shape, but I think graphically. It's so appealing, like aesthetically, everything about it's like really nice. And I mentioned
he nailed it.
Yeah, he freaking he nailed. Foss, he did one of the graphics for my skate shop right before we lost our lease.
That's right. And isn't the font for Underground like?
Yeah, he did.
Right.
Yeah. I'll show a picture. Probably won't. But
Google that.
Google
shit.
that shit.
Underground skate shop.
But they were, and we used it for the hoodies. To actually have that on.
Oh yeah, there it is, right there.
That's
that's his writing.
But dude, we sold I think 50 shop decks in like 3 weeks.
Yeah,
it was crazy, but just people ate it up. Like people love, they love his work, and just to sort of ride the sack a little bit, like he is one of the most coolest skate companies, like the owners that I've ever met. Like he's a really solid guy.
Oh, he's an amazing person. His impact on skateboarding is like incredible too. I mean, the Altamont, like that's his font. Like his, not just his like lettering or his whatever you call that, like his lettering.
Yeah, I think that's gets the point across.
The way he draws letters is good, and I like that. And when you see it, you know it's him. He just nails it. And he's done work for Zero and all these other companies. Like like at this point, I think he's done a graphic for just about anyone.
Element.
Yeah, I mean, he's done fucking.
So the fact that you were connected,
he's a legend.
Yeah, the fact that
just as an artist.
The fact that he was the one who you ended up doing something with at this point in your life probably just added to the stoke and the excitement of it.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan. And then, he lives in Eagle Rock, which isn't far. So, years ago. And also, like, I've just through filming skateboarding, like, I've been close to certain riders that have ended up on his team and, like, helped with getting people on. Sort of, like not just like, I mean, not like I helped, but just like being like, oh, this guy's cool, he's perfect, or like just helped facilitate. I guess I've just been sort of in that. I don't even know how. Like when Tony Carr was on there, like I used to always say Tony Carr for president because he was such a freak.
Oh, he is such a freak. That was your thing?
I used to say that. Yeah. I think I coined that term. I'm pretty sure. I just like
people will call you out on that.
Well, Foss, he did like I do remember that being in one of the early conversations where I know you say this and like I want to use it for this thing. I was like, fuck yeah, that's amazing. You should totally do. Like, but I filmed a video part with Tony Carr like prior to that.
I heard skateboarding. I didn't even. I don't think I knew you at the time, but I knew of that video and watched it, and I had no idea until I met you, and then I was like actually looking at the credits. So I was like, oh,
yeah, it was such a.
And that's a staple like L.A. local video.
Underground.
It's totally underground. Yeah.
I'm fucking so sorry.
Yeah. But it is. Like if you are from LA, you grew up here, that is a video that you know of and you've watched. So
yeah.
You also have this experience.
I said, yeah, like I'm not, I'm just saying it was crazy. And like the premiere was insane. Like we did it at the Downtown Independent in downtown LA, where we filmed a lot of that video. And it just like, it was one of those things where like I put this trailer online and like it took years to make, and it was just like I was working jobs and it was like a passion project. And then we had to do like extra screenings that night, and the fucking theater was just like totally packed, and like skateboarders showed up and did like a little article write up, and it was like just something that like the board, just like I just didn't see it coming. I just thought it was like it was for us, it was our thing. And largely because of like Josh Sierra and Tony Carr and Jacob Van Orden and Mikey Chim and Gustavo, Mikey and Gustavo Goose, like representing Long Beach, brought like a bunch of that scene up, and Norman Woods,
yeah, Norman
like
Woods,
fucking like Hollywood, so like all these
the HHK crew,
HHK, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so
you know Brazil, right?
Yeah, Brazil's in my part. He's the motorcycle dude who's like you know the wood inside.
Yeah, that's
that
right.
what they're talking about.
Yeah,
like
that's what they're talking about.
Yeah, I made sure that was in. He was in I Heart Skateboarding too.
That's right.
He slams his face in that car at the York bump. In Norman's part.
Man, I met him when he was 14 when I worked at Destroy All Magazine, when we were one of the few skateboarders that lived in Echo Park before it became what it is now.
Such a rad.
And now it's like they just moved to Orange County. But anyway, I'm just I'll pause it right there, and we'll pick it back up because I want to talk a little bit more about your life, like before you got to that point, and then how you got into skateboarding.
Cool. Yeah.
All right. 1 second.
Do you want me to hit this thing?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm gonna stand up again. Sorry.
Who was that?
I don't know. Fucking like Slipknot or some shit. I do that with Sarah all the time in the morning. I'm like,
you got that down.
yeah, I do it a lot.
We just took a break there to drink more espresso, and I don't know if it was really a good idea, and I don't even really remember where we were at. Did you move that?
I just did, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was because I bumped it.
Mm-hmm. I think that's like the third or fourth time.
I'm what doctors call a large man.
I think it's good.
looks
I think
fine.
that's where we're at. Is the
Thanks.
lighting? The lighting should still be the same.
Yeah, I didn't touch the light.
So
That was go near the fucking light.
I am the light. So
What were you talking about? The fuck was that?
I'd really like to. So
Oh, it was I Heart Skateboarding was the last thing.
yeah, but we were talking about the premiere and how like all these things are sort of connecting you to just having this new experience later on in life, because you had at one point was like, okay, this is not going to be my career in skateboarding, but what led you up like to that point, or how did you get into skateboarding, and then from there,
Ask me again. I'll take it. Worst interview. I'm so sorry. Like I said, not very in demand for this type of stuff. So I'm not a seasoned interviewee.
So, how did you grow up here in LA? How did you get into skateboarding? Like, bring us back a little bit to young little Ira. Where you were at when you first got into skateboarding and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm Southern California boy, and Orange County. Actually, lived in El Toro. So like, it's kind of known for the 20 stare at El Toro High School, which is my alma mater. Barely graduated on account of the ADD, which is still an issue, clearly.
What you were seeing here, ladies and gentlemen.
yes, which is what you're seeing on camera. So I guess it was like all the kids in my neighborhood always had like fucking, back then there was like scooters with handlebars, and then like BMX bikes, or like everyone was in phases, and there was like these collective phases in my neighborhood of all the kids where you needed a bike or you needed this thing. And then everyone kind of got to skateboarding at one point. And then I remember just being like, oh, this is my thing. And people moved on and were playing like roller hockey and shit. And I was just like still on a skateboard. And I just, like everyone, I think, who falls in love with skateboarding just got really obsessed with it. And it was really good for...
When did you know, when you first became obsessed, like this is what I want to do?
I mean, it was around that time. I just remember being like getting stuck on it, like where everyone else in my neighborhood, like I was kind of like the lone dude in my neighborhood trying to figure all these out and shit. And I didn't even really have like a video influence. I had bought a Psycho Skate, which is a vision skate video from my actually it was like the book fair at my school, where my mom was like, here, go buy a book with you some money. And I think I bought like a Lamborghini poster and a fucking VHS of skateboarding.
That sounds very 80s.
It was
gotta have a Lamborghini poster.
This is probably, this is like 87 or I don't know how old you are in 5th grade. I got held back in kindergarten too, so math is not good. That wasn't a gang sign. I was trying to do math. Never was in a gang. Too dorky to be in a gang for sure. So anyway, and then like I met other skaters, and then like I think in 6th grade, someone showed me Questionable, which is like my first real skate. Like, not that Psycho Skate's a real skate video. It's got Gator, it's got Mark Gonzalez.
There's a plan B.
Questionable is Plan B.
Yeah.
And that was like, Rodney Mullen, Pat Duffy, who was my favorite forever and still like one of my favorite skateboarders. And like
that's the one where he's like going down the rail in the rain.
Yeah, he backlips the rail with Turnowski in the rain, like, and he does it twice because it's fish and it's like long lens, like super
in the freaking rain.
Yeah, and he skated to Primus, and I'm like a bass player nerd kid, so like I already was into like metal and like weird bands, and or just like, like not like what most kids in 6th grade were listening to, I guess. And like Primus was high on the list already. And so like, I was just like, this dude's the coolest motherfucker ever. And he's grinding 20 stair rails and then like slapping a curb right after, like just so fucking sick. And just, like skating through kink rails, like the backsmith through the kink rail, like it was just so influential. And then Rodney Mullen, of course, and like Danny Way, Colin McKay, all that shit. Like, and that's probably got more into them for virtual reality, but like that was it. Like really, like there was like I was not like instantly. I was like not accepted necessarily by all the skaters. I had like 2 friends who skated, and then all the older kids like thought I was whack, and they're probably right. Still pretty whack. And but I just like I was just trying to. I was a young jit, and I was trying to learn, and like I was trying on a lot of personalities like you do at that age, and just trying to fit in and shit. And before I figured out really who I was, so yeah, that was like my whole thing. And that was it. I was all in though. Like from that point on, 5th, 6th grade, I've been a skateboarder ever since. Like I can't imagine not skating.
So was there
frequently? Was
there ever a point when? I mean, I guess there's always that point for a kid when they're skating. It's like, I'm going to be professional. I'm going to go pro. How long did that last for you to the point where you were like...
Oh, I mean, I was like definitely... So into junior high, like started to... At that point, like by junior high school, I got... I had like a shop sponsor and was like... like trying to skating handrails and shit like that. And felt like I was like, maybe there's a chance here, trying to film video parts with my friends. And like, just like my buddy Daryl Anderson was like my best friend. We'd like take his mom's like VHS camera, and later it became like a high 8, smaller disc. And we were just like trying to film each other. And that was another thing too, is at that point, all of us, you're carting a camera around trying to film shit just so you have footage. And like I would ultimately get stuck with the camera more because everyone sucked at fucking filming. So then that's kind of what led into me pursuing the video side of things and filming and like getting into editing, like sort of just happened because everyone sucked at it. I used to play in bands at that point too, and the same thing would happen. Like no one could film anyone well, and I would move around and change shots and like,
not just stay there.
Yeah, not just like everyone would just like hold the oh yeah, I filmed your set and it's just one angle.
Yeah.
So like it was that stuff sort of came kind of naturally or whatever, and like that. So, but I guess I kind of there was a point where the culmination is when I was working at 411. I was like 21, around that age, and like I had gotten a photo with Bradford, who was my friend, who was in Street Pirates, and who's an amazing photographer. He was staff at Skateboarder, and it's amazing. Compositions, worked with film a lot, and he's just like he shot this like long exposure feeble grind. It was like it's this famous spot in Lake Forest. I think at the time the rail was red, but it's 2 stairs up, quick setup, 13 down, and I feebled the rail. It was like ollie up, feeble down, and it was like trying to get a checkout in Skateboarder. And then there was like a Marcus Bandy ad where the same trick that had just come out and like kind of washed away the checkout thing. And I think at some point in my head at that point I was working a real job, and I just kind of was like, this isn't happening for me, you know what I mean? And I just knew, just from seeing the level of everybody, you know what I mean? It was just kind of like, it just naturally sort of.
What year was this?
God,
early,
no, man.
Like mid 90s.
Yeah, no, that's early 2000s.
Oh, early 2000s.
Yeah, like I mean,
that's right. You were 20 something. Okay.
Yeah, I was like 21, 22, and then I just kind of like realized like I hadn't done it. I do remember the face. Like I tried to grind the 22 in the back of El Toro, like before anyone had skated the 20, or landed anything. Because I was this is jumping back, but I was probably like a freshman in high school at the time. And then when I was a senior is when the end came out, when Heath lipped the 20, which is the first trick to go down on it. And so I was like I was playing with skating bigger stuff, you know what I mean? Like my heroes, like Pat Duffy, like trying to grind like a 20-stair rail. I got like 16 stairs down. I jumped off to the left, hyperextended my knee, bruised my tailbone, and just got so smoked. The feeble grind on the 13 stair.
Is there video of that?
Somewhere. Yeah, like Daryl Anderson definitely filmed that. Like Deborah Anderson has a box of tape somewhere. Can you please find those?
Yeah,
I'll do my best.
Yeah.
I've actually asked them about it. I don't think it exists. I don't know. It's like just like the stuff at 411 where we had all these fucking like so much. That's another reason why I wanted to film a part. I'd tried all this stuff for so long, and it's such a goal as a skateboarder. You want to just have one part where you can look back and be like, I finished something, And but
why do you think that is?
I don't know. It's the way that like our shit kind of perpetuates itself, right? Like it's, street skating, you don't have like a crowd of people there. And I think it naturally built into like, we document this stuff because there's such like impactful, like there's just a powerful moment when you see your buddy do something amazing, that energy that like, it's your moment, everyone there. But then if you can save that moment, and then other people get that same feeling. And I think that's why videos became in magazines and shit. Like, and to some extent now, video games have started to perpetuate like what we do, where kids are like figuring tricks out. Like you look at the level of skateboarding, like it started with like seeing like local kids. And I've heard this. This is somebody else's concept, and I'm going to regurgitate it. But I'm not taking credit, but like you used to see like local kids and what was possible there, or then pros would come through and do a demo, and then you'd see them do shit, and then everyone's like, oh my God, like an Ollie Impossible I thought was a myth. I remember being like, that's not, someone explained it to me, and I was like, you can't do that. Like it literally is impossible. Then you see video of Ed Templeton doing one, and then it's like, okay, well clearly that's a thing, like, so videos, I think it's a natural progression because we're doing things in these remote places or like the middle of a city or the middle of a schoolyard. The only way to share that is to document it. And so then those things, as you're seeing those, it just, I don't know, I got lost in my thought, but this coffee is really strong. So, but yeah, it's like, I think that so you want to do that for yourself and like your scene and your friends, like you guys want to document each other and make your own video, and it's like your own fucking.
I think it's one of the few subcultures that is really open to that where you're doing something and people
Right.
get so stoked on you, and you feed each other's hype, and it's. But talking about the video games, where now it wasn't in their mind before that they could do certain things, and all of a sudden they're just they're flipping the joystick, and they're like, oh shit, I didn't mean to do that. Like, I've never seen anyone do that, but then all of a sudden they have a reference, and that has just it's crazy. I mean, there was a time when I was like, I'm done. I don't even want to, and that's why I don't really watch like too much stuff, because then I'm like, I'll never get to that level. I mean, not that I'm trying to get to that level, but there was a point when, you're like, you want to do that. You want to do all these different things. And you're just watching what people do, and you're like bummed.
Totally. I mean, I still have delusions of grandeur. Like when I go to fucking film something, I think that I'm going to get this, in my head, I'm like, I can totally fucking do this. And you get there and you're like, well, maybe I can do this other thing that's this compound, and
or maybe I could film a guy doing
yeah,
something.
Yeah. And the guys I get to film now, I mean, what it's evolved into is like I've gotten to film some of the gnarliest shit, and getting to go on some of these trips, it puts things in perspective. Like, oh, I was never going to be that guy. Like, that was never my path, But that doesn't matter, really. Like, skateboarding, that's the other thing that's cool about it is, like, I'm skating for me now. Like, I went back into skating curbs. Like, when I kind of reset, I was skating a lot of parks, and, like, I still like parks a little bit, but something about going back to parking lots and just skating curbs for myself. And as a skateboarder, you skate everything, right? But there's some sort of feeling that I get there, and it made it so much, especially working in the industry, like going back and having that just for me it was so fulfilling and like so fun. It just made me fall back in love with the whole thing. Not that I ever stopped skating or ever fell out of love with it, but it's hard to articulate. Like, it just reminded me of why I started so much, and like that feeling of skating with my friends in a park.
You feel like a teenager, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It brought you back to that.
Yeah, it's that fountain of youth.
Moment. Yeah, that moment before you started thinking about what you could do with it, or what it could do for you, or
trying on these ambitions. Like, I'll be a pro. I'll do this stuff. Like,
it's just
and that kind of like, and then filming the skate industry also, like, it's rough to make a living at. You can get if you're not careful, if you don't work with the right people, you can get really like chewed up, especially like filmers don't get really, they're like you look at like what's happening in the film industry right now, and camera department's just like about to strike. Like it's common amongst everything. Like, it's sort of undervalued in a lot of ways. Like, it is this job that, and certain companies, value that position, but a lot of companies don't. And I worked in it enough to know that I was killing myself for somebody else to make bread, and I was fucking over that, and that made me a little bit bitter towards skateboarding, a little bit. Like,
I was.
I understood the difference. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, you try running a shop, running a board brand, hard goods. That shit is fucking. It is. People don't understand how thin those margins are, how much you're struggling, and like, especially what I loved about what you were doing with Underground was like you're cultivating the scene, really like an underserved. Like little zone of skaters, and it was so fucking rad. And like, you had the right fucking brands in the shop, you had the right attitude towards kids, like, it. And so when you come into something with like these genuine intentions, and you feel like you get chewed up, it can make you really, really bitter. Yeah. And I think that's why I kind of started working more outside of skateboarding, but also it made me like, I don't know, it just soured things for me. And that's why the curb skating shit just brought me back to like, this is why I do this shit. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Just like a little bit of balance, I think, is underestimated. You know what I mean? Especially because if you're just surrounded by something all the time. It was a 24-hour like job for me to run that shop. And by the end of it, I think I just completely stepped back, and I had a little bit of anger, like, just about skateboarding, which is weird because it was, it had nothing to do. It didn't have anything to do with that feeling that I get when I'm on the board and I'm just hanging out with my buddies. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
when you're doing it just for you, when you're just skating. Yeah.
When it's that. So the filming aspect, were you into like movies, filming?
Oh, yeah.
Or,
Oh, yeah.
So you were into movies. So that's probably one of the reasons that you sort of had an eye. You know what I mean? That just
Right.
sort of develops as because I went to film school. I did all that, but I already grew up just fascinated by movies, but like specifically like how they're made and angles, and then you develop that eye. So you already had that eye. What was because I haven't really got to talk to anybody about movies. What were the movies that inspired you?
Oh man. Well, my dad was like always into the classics. Like my dad's favorite movie is Casablanca, and like so I grew up singing, but he also loved like Big Trouble in Little China and like John Carpenter shit.
John Carpenter, yeah.
And my mom is super into like sci-fi and like B movies and horror, and she would be like grading like first grade, you know, like she'd be like she's a teacher, and she'd be like doing like homework, first graders, like grading shit, and then watching like Silence of the Lambs and shit, and like Predator, and like so.
Put the lotion.
Like, yeah, I remember like walking in and she's grading papers, and it was like the masturbation scene where he like throws the cover in her face, and I was like, "What was that?" And she's like, "Get the fuck out of here!" And she was like, "What was that?" Like it was like serious. She's grading like first grade, second grade papers. So yeah, so I loved all those like action sci-fi films, but I think the first movie that ever made me notice filmmaking was Pulp Fiction. It was 97, I think. Somewhere
earlier, 92,
is it 94?
92, 93.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
So,
Reservoir Dogs
yeah,
came
12.
out, I think, 91, somewhere around that time.
And I remember all my friends were like, "You got to see this movie, Reservoir Dogs," and like, but at the same time, it was just like this badass movie. I didn't still like, even though if you look back at it, like the camera angles and the filmmaking, especially as an indie, it's like a super inspiring film. But Pulp Fiction was like so cool, and like the lighting and the shots and the camera moves and like.
Epic, just the story, the intertwining, everything about it was.
Yeah, I remember actually going like, why was that so much cooler than other movies? like what about that made it stay? Like, why am I so obsessed with this fucking film? And actually, my aunt took my grandma to see it because they both love John Travolta, and I think they were both like, I wasn't there, but I wish I could have watched it with them. Anyway, but yeah, like so, you know, I've always been into horror films since then too, like around that, you know, grew up in the 80s, so like films like Chopping Mall up to like all the funny like you know, Nightmare on Elm Streets to, which is like
I like you said the funny. I thought you were gonna say like Spies Like Us or like Flights or something.
That was again my dad. Like, Spies Like Us is like fully that's his aesthetic. Like
the one influence that my dad had on me was those movies,
dude. That I mean, and they don't make films like
Porky's.
They don't make fucking films like that.
I was like,
anymore,
dude,
you know
I was
what
like 5 years old watching Porky's. You know, the beginning scenes at the graduation.
You can't make that film anymore.
It's like, no, you could never make. There's so many films that you wouldn't be. Soul Man.
Yeah,
you remember Soul Man?
That rightfully so. That was really tone deaf. Soul Man was fucking awful. Looking back, and like even like Short Circuit, right? Like the one dude just plays the dude who plays the like Indian cat, like it's just so fucking wrong. Like just get an Indian guy to come play them.
Yeah.
But it's just the 80s had a lot of that tone deaf sort of.
I cried when Johnny Five, when I thought he was dead, because I didn't understand the whole concept of
Same.
You did? Yeah. And then when he...
not disassemble.
Do not disassemble.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the scene, I think he's in the truck when he like, Johnny Five alive.
Yeah.
Was
that part 2 when it's like he comes back as the montage to We Need a Hero and he's like the fucking mohawk? Is that part 2?
Oh yeah, no. Locos kick your ass.
Yeah,
I'll locos kick your face. I'll loco kick your balls into outer space.
100%. See, this is good podcasting. That was not even rehearsed.
No, it wasn't. But dude, those are like definitely the movies that influenced me.
Oh yeah, same. I love all that like that 80s like campy shit that I mean there's just it's an aesthetic that's gone, you know.
I mean, big time, because but I don't know, Tarantino was talking about how there was like this self-imposed censorship at one point, like from the 80s, and that's actually what started to develop was like his style, where it was just like it went just completely the opposite direction of that. And I think, you know, we'll possibly get back to there. I feel like society just in general kind of like you know, it shifts, it changes or whatever. So, but I was going to ask you, because you listen to punk rock too, right?
Yeah, that's something that I got into super. I mean, I think skateboarding, that's one thing that's rad about skateboarding is it brings in like all these things. Like it brings in art, it brings in photography, videography, music, you know, like so I was heavily influenced by skate videos and other skateboarders. The Dead Kennedys. I remember being in my buddy Danny's fucking Civic hatchback, and the first time I heard the Dead Kennedys, and it was just like life-changing, like hearing Jello's voice and just being like, what the fuck is this? This is different than, you know, it was just its own, I don't know, that shit just still to this day I have, you know, I listen to that shit and it makes me feel like I did back then.
Yeah. I was gonna say there's something about the connection of 80's movies and punk rock. It just from Return of the Living Dead. I mean, I think in '89 I dressed up as a punk rocker, and I remember it rained that Halloween. And I just had all my fucking glittered colored hair was like dripping down. I had mascara on and fake ripped. But it was Police Academy, like all these movies.
Yeah. Crocodile Dundee. There's the scene where it's like Iggy Pop, I'm a real wild one. And then like that whole he walks into the bar and it's all the punk guys. Like it was in everything. Yeah.
It was in everything. And I definitely had this sort of, I don't know, subconscious influence on where I would end up, you know, being and what I would end up like gravitating towards. There was something about it aesthetically, and there was just always something about the punk rockers in the 80's movies that were like, I want to be like that, instead of being like, man, those guys are douchebags, and you know, like how they were portrayed as like, no, I want to be that.
Yeah, totally.
So you had that influence too. So when you listened to that song, who was it that turned you on to it? Was there like, it was just sort of what was going on in the skate scene? A lot of people were listening to punk rock.
I think that punk rock and skateboarding go hand in hand because there is like this lawlessness and there is a rebellion to both of them, especially as like a street skater, you know? You do learn really early that like rules are pretty fucking fake, pretty arbitrary, and pretty, you know, like a lot of the social norms, you can get away with a ton of illegal shit and break a ton of rules without hurting anybody, and it doesn't matter, and it's fun. I don't know. There's something fun about the lawlessness of skateboarding, and like there's no other music to me. I mean, hip hop for sure is one of them, but like punk rock, hip hop, and all that shit was mixed together in the old videos that we used to watch.
I feel like you can't rock like Alan Jackson. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't pump you up doesn't fit.
I think in my older age, I've gone back to old country. But in certain ways, like
stuff,
like Hank. You know, Hank 1. I don't like Hank 2, but I like Hank 3.
I like Hank 3 too.
You know, there's some cool shit out there, but and I listen to everything now, especially like I think my dad was always into like Bob Dylan and Jim Croce and that like folky shit, and I part of that took. They always listened to like the Beach Boys and all this like, you know, their generation's shit, and I still like all that stuff. But then I got into punk rock, and then I got into like hip hop and like Souls and Mischief and Common, like all the Hieroglyphics crew, and that all influenced me like equally, I feel like, and you know, we'd listen to all that shit. Trilogy was one of my favorite videos. Welcome to Hell was one of my favorite videos. You know what I mean? Like those are the two videos that we had on, like, we just wore those VHSs out. Goldfish too, which is like, you know, aesthetically, like those are all have like their own sort of like niche, you know, like the filmmaking in Goldfish and stuff is amazing. Trilogy is much more raw and like fucking like, you know, rap oriented, and then fucking Welcome to Hell just felt like more metal and like just like more, it was Hesh. It was just, but we were watching all that shit. Like that was all, it was all you know, it was side by side.
The energy's exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's the representation of that raw, like just intense energy is just, it's struck different, but it's all coming from the same place.
Yeah.
So
it's like fuck what everyone thinks you're supposed to do or be able to, you know.
We don't cuss on this show.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Mom, I told you not to watch, Mom.
Going back to your influence of Pulp Fiction, because when I was in film school, that was always, you know, that was the go-to film for, I think, filmmakers, because it embodied, well, that and El Mariachi, Robert Rodriguez, and especially that one.
He made that for nothing.
For nothing, yeah. And it was like, I remember, you know, shooting like shorts with the wheelchair dolly shot, and just you felt, and I think that again sort of connecting all those things together with like the punk rock and skateboarding, you feel like you can kind of do these things on your own terms, or you can actually just do them. And so watching like a movie like that, did you ever think about filmmaking in that way of like, I'm going to like eventually become a filmmaker, or were you only concerned about filming like skate stuff?
No, I mean, like, it felt like separate worlds to me, which is weird. Like, looking back, I mean, especially at the beginning, I don't think I ever thought there's a possibility of like a career with, working with cameras or production of any kind until I got a job as a sales rep at 411, which was like early 2000s, a couple of years after high school. I sort of like, not lied, but like I knew Kirk Deanda. I had skated with him, and he was the creative director at 401 at the time. And I saw that there was a sales rep position. I think I was waiting tables at the time, and I just went into this interview like, Kirk is like my best friend, all right? Like, and is this guy Brian Garofalo, who still like works. I think he's at Element now. I could be totally fucking wrong, Brian. I'm sorry. Remember Brian's name. He's going to come back. He's a great human, but I like interviewed with him and really dropped Kirk didn't even know I was interviewing for the thing. And I like didn't know him super well at the time, like I was friends with one of his good friends' little brother, Chris Dixon. And then his older brother there was like two friend groups, like the older dudes. And then like we were sort of like the generation just behind them. So I like basically lied, said we were best friends, and then kind of, talked about my sales experience. But I'm a skateboarder and I know these products, and I could totally, I can upsell someone on a fucking bottle of wine. I can sell a skate video to a skate shop, which actually turns out to be a lot harder, like especially if like the product is sitting, like if you haven't sold through your last month of inventory, if people have stopped buying something, which is kind of at the phase where at this point 411 was like branching out into different like verticals, right? Like they were doing BMX and they were doing surf and they were doing motocross, and like,
you say verticals, is that a term?
That's like, yeah, that's like an industry thing. It's so douchey. I'm so sorry, but like,
oh, it's cool. You said it before, and I didn't want to interrupt. So
it just means like, it's just like you'll have like a board vertical, right? They'll kind of lump everything together. Like for a company like GoPro or some shit, like they tend to like, you tend to have like one producer in charge of snowboarding, skateboarding, like skimboarding, like, because they don't fucking know how different all that shit is. Mm-hmm. So like you end up having to work in these three, like I interviewed for a job at GoPro, and they're like, it was the fucking producer. They flew me up there to like, and then thank God I didn't get it. They got like fired everybody like a month later. Oh shit. They're fucking stock tanked. All right. Anyway, yeah, it's a weird industry term. Okay. It's a fucking corporate bullshit. Fucking, right. They just lump shit together that doesn't belong together.
Gotcha. Right. Okay.
So yeah, they had just jumped out into these other like subs. It was like at a weird place for 411, I feel like, where
that was early 2000s, right? Or
yeah, maybe it was a little bit further in, maybe 2005, mids probably.
Internet was starting to really...
Yeah, they were doing the .com thing too, and trying to like negotiate those waters, and it was just a weird place. Like physical videos were starting to become less in demand, and so what the position I got hired for was like to come in as like a direct sales guy. Like they were still distributing through Giant Distribution, which was doing like Black Label and Element and like all these like rad brands, and they were selling 401. But then I was supposed to go in and like call shops directly and try to find shops that weren't already getting their videos from those distributors, and then like fill those gaps in, which is super awkward because then like you end up like people think you're fucking snaking. Like the Giant sales reps were mad. It was a weird, messy. This is probably a tangent we don't need to go into. But like it just was like a weird job that I got, but it got me in the building,
Yeah.
So like then I don't know what business I had in that role, or like I didn't know spreadsheets, I didn't know computers that well. I just talked my way into this role.
You just wanted to be in the skateboarding industry at that point.
Exactly. Yeah. And I just bullshitted my way in. And then I started hanging out in edit bays. And like, I remember Kirk being like, what are you doing in the building? And I was like, oh, what are you talking about? We're best friends. And we'd just hang out and
Can I get you a Diet Coke?
Yeah.
What do you need?
Do you guys need anything? And yeah, that was cool though, because everyone there, like so many influential like skate videographers, like Cole Matthews, who's a thrasher now. He's fucking amazing human. Ricky Biedenbaugh, who made 7 Year Glitch and a ton of other videos and is one of the most incredible filmmakers I've ever worked with. Wingco, who's done like everything from like directing fucking Iron Maiden music videos, like Skid Row and shit, and he was the narrator for On Video. So if you ever go back and watch On Video, like that voice is my buddy Wing, who's super influential to me and who's given me a lot of opportunities. Kirk Deanda, who created On Video.
Bring them. Sorry,
Get it closer. Is it? Do you want it too much? Is this too, sorry.
Yeah, right there.
There. Okay.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay.
See,
So is that better? I'm so loud in my own head. I don't think I could tell the difference. But yeah, there was just so many Joe Kralik and like, I mean, I fucking could go on and on. It was all these like
were they a lot older than you were, or they were
just a few years? You know, like I mean, Cole and I are probably around the same age, and he was like, I don't know if he was like, he wasn't an intern, but he was like, a lot of the grunt work was getting put on him. I remember him like having to like cut like one of the whole snow videos like in a weekend, and like just like it was crazy. Like they were doing so much stuff. They were creating so much content, and these guys were so open about like the process. And it was really like, it was before I ever took a film class, and like Kirk at like on the weekends like showed me how to use a VX and showed me how to film fish. Really like with like the first time using like real cameras that weren't like our parents' cameras. Mm-hmm. It was a crazy experience. And they would like ask me, like the first time they asked me to watch something for notes, I didn't know what that meant. And then usually it's like, okay, that was great, but here's the criticism. Like this was confusing. I didn't understand this shot. Like what was I supposed to get from this? And they would be like, okay, so like we wanted you to watch down this edit for notes with us, you know? And they brought me in, and I was like super excited to be just in there.
But you didn't know what yours was?
Well, I kind of like, you know, they explained it. But I was just like such a fan. I was like, that was great.
It kicked ass.
Yeah, I loved it. And it was just like, so everything, you know, they were like, no, that's not what I want. Kirk was like, I remember him being visibly frustrated, like, okay, that's fine. And then somebody was like, well, I thought this part was a little confusing. I was like, yeah, that was confusing. He's like, why didn't you fucking say that? You know? So I didn't know what I was doing. And it was like, it was definitely, 401 was definitely more influential on me than I was on it, you know? But then I could trace every job that I ever got from that point on to like people I met, relationships that I built during that time as a very bad sales rep. I ended up, so that guy Brian, I said, he ended up having to fire me, and which was a really good thing for everybody, I'm sure. I wasn't doing great as a sales rep, and like a lot better at spreadsheets now.
All right. I feel like you have the potential to be a really good sales rep.
I couldn't lie to
people. I was gonna say not to take anything away from people because I was really good at bending or sort of guiding, and that can sometimes. I mean, I was terrible at upselling. But there was times when families would come in and then, you know, and just like I needed to pay for an order, and I was like, well, this is the board that you need, you know what I mean? But for the most part, I mean, sometimes I would offer a kid a board at wholesale because they didn't have any money, and I wasn't getting shit on it. So, but yeah,
just moving money through the fucking
exactly. But I kind of feel that from you. You also have this. You're very humble. And I was going to mention this.
Well, I'm glad I come off that way.
Yeah. But I don't know. And I think that's why people have always gravitated towards you, and your energy is, even though you've had all these experiences, you've been connected to things, you're still very grounded in that sense. And you're, I don't know, you seem very open. So yeah, but the whole sales thing, it's like I see it there that you could be good at just being you, but then there's a whole other side of that. And that's not even, sometimes you have to be fake that. And you know what I mean? That's definitely the hardest part. So they canned you because you're too fucking nice of a guy, really, ultimately at the end of the day.
Well, I don't know if it's that. There's probably more nuanced reasons.
Okay.
Ultimately, the Doug Thompson, who was the music coordinator for On Video, had like a going away party, and then a bunch of the creative side of everyone went out. We went to the Red Room in Long Beach and got blackout drunk. And then a lot of people were like, I'm not going in tomorrow. And if you work on the creative side, as long as your work gets done, that's kind of cool. Sales reps don't get to just no call, no show like that, which gave them the opportunity for, I probably wasn't pulling my weight as a sales rep. And I know good sales reps who are charismatic and good dudes who don't lie to people. And I just had I had good relationships, but if they were like, the videos aren't selling, I'd be like, oh man, that sucks. Sorry, dude. Fuck, I guess you don't want this new video, huh? I was just a shit.
What do you want me to do about it?
Yeah, I just was not.
I didn't make the video. I'm just trying to get you to buy it.
I mean, I tried. It's not like I phoned it in. I did try, but it wasn't, I don't know.
And it's not very, especially if you're creative in any sense of that word, if you have that and you want to be creative, being a sales, I mean, that was one of the things I just despised, that aspect of owning a skate shop.
Right.
Was selling. I was terrible at numbers, and I mean, now I would have definitely developed that tool, because you need that tool, or brought someone in. But I really loved creating the graphics, or shirts,
right.
or a community, bringing the community together and doing events. I loved that.
Yeah.
But once it got into the other realm, I was so I'm sure there was a sense of not being happy, really at the end of the day being happy because you weren't really contributing to anything in a creative way,
Yeah, and I think there was a couple instances where I felt like I had done good from a sales perspective, and it was sort of fulfilling, but then there wasn't any pay. I mean, I'm not going to get into that, but I could see how having a shop, you would be easier to upsell a dad coming in or a mom coming in to buy, because you're oh, they got bread, fucking buy this thing, for your kid. Whereas the kid who comes in who has no money, that's you don't want to fucking take that kid's, you don't want to take everything he has. You don't have, you know what I mean? You just want the kid to have a skateboard to get out there
and skate, because I know that feeling. I want you to do that,
and that's bad business. So that's a hard that's a hard thing to rectify. It's hard to find that balance, and it wasn't the job I was supposed to do. Right. So it was good. I ended up moving to LA, and then going to school. I started at PCC, and I was going to try to go to Art Center. I met my buddy Brendan Klein, who is an amazing photographer, who I was skating curbs with, and the park, local parks out here. When I moved out here to this, the east side, was originally South Pass, and Brendan was going to Art Center already, and I had intended to go there. He was going for photography. And then through the course of taking classes at PCC, I had an instructor that was you don't need student loans. Here's the basics, and no one's going to teach you. I mean, you can go and take these classes, but this guy had a master's from USC, and he's I would just start working, So I put a camera and a credit card at that point, and then kind of put the word out to people I had worked with that I had a camera, at 4-on-1. I mean, to this day, I've never made a reel. I've never had a website.
Wow. And
it just Wingco hired me to be assistant editor on this flip tour that was getting cut for Fuel TV. And then my buddy Paul Goncalves, Paulie G, who he used to work at the Chateau Marmont. He saved me from getting thrown out of there once. It's a whole fucking... Anyway, Polly's awesome. And he was an intern at 401 when I was a sales rep, And then he ended up, this is years later, was a producer at Fuel TV. And then I was dropping off this tape that I was fucking AE on. And he just walked through the lobby, and he was saw me and was Ira, what the fuck are you doing here? He's from Boston, but I can't do the accent good. So, so stupid. I'm sorry.
It started off there,
and then they always morph into something
de-escalated.
Well, I just get embarrassed, and then I go back to my normal nasal stuff.
How do you like those fucking apples?
Yeah, yeah. I got a number.
I got a number.
Jesus Christ. But so he just took me into this producer's office and was just fully lied. He's never seen anything I've ever shot, and he's you need a shooter producer, Ira's your guy, and sat me down, and I'm just she's do you have a stick mic? I did not have a stick mic, and I was yeah, Yeah, absolutely. I think I went to Sammy's like directly after the interview and was like, bought a stick mic on a credit card. And
what's a stick mic?
yeah, I was like, what the fuck? And they're like, here's a flag. I was like, holy shit. You get one of those dumb mic flags. And then, I started producing stuff and just shooting stuff. And I did one job for them. And the first one was like, it got the pass. You know what I mean? Like, and then so instantly I started working kind of on the fringes of skateboarding, where it was like a better paying job, sort of working with skateboarding, sometimes documenting other shit. And that kind of, I would always shoot for skate videos and stuff too, but it was never my bread. Like I would bartend or bounce at bars like that. I ended up like working night jobs, shooting during the day, just whatever. I would go out street skating with homies. I would get these one-off jobs and like cover events. And then I, through that, got a job as a live camera operator for Tampa. Like one year they just brought me out to Tampa. It was my first travel job. Whereas like, and on these huge production cameras, like you see them shooting like baseball, like the big rectangle lenses, like they're these 100 by fucking like, massive 6-figure fucking lenses. And it was way too big to be in the skate park at Tampa. It was so dumb. It was definitely like this truck had just come from a golf show and we were shooting. Like I remember Costin being like, you couldn't find a bigger camera? You think this is going to do it? Like just fully giving me shit. And I was like, where the fuck am I? This is so insane.
Oh shit.
But so that got me into live production. It got me on a PL for the first time, where you hear a director, you're part of a live show. And I just got bit. Like I was obsessed with that. Like ever since, still like live production's my favorite thing to be a part of.
How was it like going from where you came from to all of a sudden being around pros and being in the industry?
Yeah, so the Fuel TV thing led to like being on this live, like it was crazy to be in the skate park of Tampa. I used to order, like going back to the 411 days, I used to order the VHSs of Tampa, like subscribe to 411 before I ever worked there. That's why I wanted to get a job there. It was like, there was the fucking, my friends used to all come over and I'd watch the openers and then rewind it when it was VHS and then fucking totally spoil them. Like, wait till you see this one, but to be like in the skate park and like working on bringing that contest to me, that's still the best contest in skateboarding. It's the most legit, real skateboard contest that exists. They still talk shit on the mics. They still like a fucking real gnarly cut for the AM. The pros, the best dudes in the world still show up. No matter how big everything else gets, that's just real skateboarding to me. And
have you been able to like go back there? So do you go back there every time?
Now I produce the broadcast. Like it's so that was the first time. So my buddy Brian Reardon, without getting too into the weeds, he started a live production company called Auxiliary Channel, and I hired him. So after so I had gotten the live camera job and then started producing more segments for television shows for Fuel, and sort of learned how the sausage is made there, and got like, once you build a segment of something, you realize like a show is just a multiple segments that you string together. You just string those narratives together. So Paul G got me this opportunity to produce a full feature for Coastal Carnage. And Stephen Luther, who's the guy who like kind of saved Vans, you it's still not in there enough. You got to eat the mic.
Put it in your mouth.
My mouth is big, but it's not this big. I can unlock my jaw. Did you hear it pop? It did pop. I actually popped it.
Holy shit!
Popped my chair. Okay, so
totally,
it's so much better. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, leave that in, please. If the people need to know.
You can lower it a little bit.
Okay. So not quite here, but I'm sorry. I'm not gonna break. Okay, I won't break another mic.
Okay.
A little fucking Tibetan singing bowl. These things. Maybe back to meditation. But yeah, so I just loved being in the PL and like being part of live production, and but I didn't know how to run one of those, so I got a job making a TV show. But I needed to produce a live broadcast at Coastal Carnage. This guy Stephen Luther, who's a badass, he runs Hard Luck now. Sancho.
Yeah, I noticed you have a Hard Luck.
Yeah, that's a whole fucking we'll get there. Yeah, that's.
Will we though?
Yeah, I don't know. This is turning into a longer thing than I thought it was.
Yeah,
I forgot how much.
I told you, man. I was like, you're like, oh, an hour. Wait.
I could talk about my life story in an hour for sure. But so Steven, he's one of the guys that I personally credit him with bringing Vans out of like the mall shoe puffy zone, which is like back now and everyone loves it. But he like when they put Raleigh on and they went back to the classics and it kind of like brought Vans back. Steven Luther was like really like leading that charge. And then he also like helped develop the skate program for Converse and making that super legit. So he was doing a contest at the US Open of Surf called Coastal Carnage. And so they needed a TV show made and they wanted like a skateboarder behind it. They wanted it to be like, like fucking endemic, like for core, what we call core, like for real skateboarders. So, but on TV. So I kind of got the job to make that and I just like ruptured my spleen working on a show in Pennsylvania on the world's biggest skateboard that was made for that Robin Big show in a production accident, and I almost died.
Wait, I don't know. I don't know anything about this. What happened?
Okay, so I also fuck. How much more time do we have? Okay, so I was working on the show for Camp Woodward. There was like the Camp Woodward show, which like Alex Midler was on when he was a little kid, and then Lil Wayne credits for like getting him into skateboarding. So you're welcome, or I'm sorry, depending on your point of view on that whole thing. But like Alex was one of our kids, but they had brought that Robin Big. It's like a 2,000 pound skateboard the size of a school bus that was on the Robin Big show. They had it out at the camp, and we were like, we're towing it in front of this truck for shots with the kids on it, looking like the skateboard was going through camp or whatever. I mean, it was a kid's show, you know what I mean? Yeah. So we were doing like stuff that you would do for a kid's show. But then there was this hill in the back where you could like let the skateboard actually go down free without anything, and it would kind of roll up another hill and then come to a stop in the middle. There's like a little valley in between these two hills. So it was, you get like 10 or 15 people on the skateboard and you could steer it. Like it worked just like a real skateboard. Last day of production, there was an accident with the skateboard where it threw a bunch of people off, and I was one of those people. And our rider actually got like ran over, and it broke his femur and his pelvis, and he had like memory loss and had to relearn how to walk. I ruptured my spleen, but I was like, it felt like you got thrown out of a pickup truck on the grass, like onto grass, like you hit super hard. But
you said that's what it feels like?
Yeah, it felt like if you've ever been thrown from a car.
Never been thrown from a car.
I've been hit by a car pretty good as a kid. So it's like one of those impacts where I'll tell the whole. I'll just tell the whole story. Sorry, I'm trying to rush through.
I thought that's what you were doing. Tell the whole story, damn it. I mean, I don't have anywhere to be for another hour, so yeah.
Okay, so this is probably one of the dumber stories of my life.
That's what I want. Give me that.
So Joe from California Skate Parks, I don't know what his actual name is, but the guy who owns California Skate Parks, they build all the courses for Street League. He had actually built that giant skateboard for Rob Deirdrick, and but I think he built two. I think he built one for himself. Like he used the budget from the show to build his own, and one that like lived at the Fantasy Factory or whatever.
So just so I can get a visual reference, is this like the one that they use in Jackass? Like that?
Yeah.
Remember, like
it's like one of those two skateboards. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
There's two that exist. I don't know which one's which.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now that like one of them's outside that training facility in Vista that they're doing all the Olympic training shit at. Okay. I don't know which one almost killed me, but
I will seek my revenge. Son of a bitch.
This is not so Joe tried to, at the end of one of our filming days, it was the day before our wrap day, so we're all pretty much wrapping up our storylines, doing final interviews, and he decided to try to ride it. This was actually on Entertainment Weekly at the time. You can find this clip online where he's trying to ride it on his own down this hill, but you can't steer it without like 12 people because you need like 1,000 pounds of weight to turn those axles because it's a fucking massive bus, like school bus sized skateboard. So he couldn't steer it on his own, and it just started going towards these big BMX jumps and gaining speed. So it's not going towards the hill. It's not going to stop. And he jumps off the side and rolls. And
how fast do you?
I have no idea, dude. It felt pretty fast at the bottom of the hill. Like it felt a lot faster when I got thrown off the fucking thing. I'll tell you that. You did
inertia
the first time, and we had like kids on this thing from the show. It was fucking kind of sketchy. This is before, after he jumped off and it hit these BMX jumps, and it was like a monster truck. It like fucking goes nuts, and that's the footage that was on like Entertainment Weekly, and and so the next day they were like, okay, no more kids on this thing. Jesus Christ, we're just going to get some pickups. We'll just put crew on it. This is why people are about to strike. We'll just put crew on it. We'll shoot super wides, and we'll get this fucking, we'll get it all dialed.
No hazard pay either.
I got workman's comp. We're getting to that part. So we, tested out, there was this huge gauge, like this really thick gauge rope that we would use as like a stopper for the back wheels, and you'd have to like have a few people rock it over the thing. It would go down and it would settle. And we did a couple of those runs and it felt fine, right? And I remember even being like, I'm bored of this and I got work to do. I'm getting off. And they're like, one more. We're just going to do one more. And this fucking camera op runs out front as we're starting to go, just to get the straight on shot of it coming down. And that so now there's a camera op dead center in our path, and they push it over the chalk, and then as soon as it went over, you felt this like pop in the back truck. It was like the axle in this massive truck broke. Like, have you ever broke a kingpin? Not an axle, the kingpin. And it suddenly was just like, so like now one person could fucking steer the thing. It's like almost like you almost got wheel bite.
Yeah.
And then we all get like centered up, and now this thing is going too fast to jump off by the time you get centered up, because it happens really quick. And then now everyone's freaked out that this camera op isn't moving. So his plan is to run out at the last minute, and then so people try to steer and it overcorrects, and we literally get like the world's biggest speed wobble, and it felt like a fucking massive ping pong paddle hit your feet, and I was just fucking flying. Like my DP, Charlie, fucking went, it was like up in the air over me, and I'm like flying, and I remember just pulling my arm up and going to my side to just like to just do the battle roll basically. But I hit the ground and the impact was like pretty nuts. Like I said, it's like it felt like you got thrown out of a pickup truck or something. Like you slide so far, and I remember the feeling like being like, I can't get up. There's like everything hurts. I'm just like, there's no way I can get up. And then you see that we fell like in the fucking valley part where the skateboard has now come to like a rest, and it's like rolling back down towards us. So it's just like fucking it's like Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I was thinking of Indiana Jones.
Is it Temple of Doom? Temple of Doom, I think, with the ball. It's that feeling, and suddenly I'm running. I went from like I can't get up to I'm running, and we see our rider, this guy named Josh, and I think my NDA and all this stuff is worn off. So can't sue me anymore. Fuel TVs doesn't even exist, I don't think. No, fuck you guys. Fox, come find me. It's fine. But he got bread. He actually sued, I think. But so this fucking guy, I thought he was going to die. Like, he's laid out on his back with his feet facing towards the skateboard that's rolling at him. Like, we're all running out of the way, and you like, your instinct is you want to go to him, but you wouldn't have got to him in time. And Dave Payne, our director, is on the fucking skateboard with oh my god, I can only remember his radio handle. I'm blanking so hard.
Just do his radio handle. What was his radio handle?
I don't think I can do that either.
Oh shit.
Oh my god, why can't I think? What? It's just like he's such a good friend. I feel like such an asshole.
Hold on. Just mouth it, and then we'll do ADR later. Leave that in. So the director and the DP, probably better not to use names anyway. Yeah. The director and the DP stay on. Everyone else screams, and people start talking about like someone got run over. It's like fucking chaos. We have EMTs on site too, because it's a fucking TV show. But the DP, thankfully, and the director stay on, and because the axle thing was broken in the skateboard, they were able to like steer around him. And so at the last minute, they get on the side, and it just barely misses our rider who's laying there. And I remember him looking up at the skateboard, and you could just tell he wasn't even there, because he just put his head back down. Like, he just fucking saw like death coming, and just was like, oh no. He was accepting it at that point.
I mean, I don't think he was there, Like, I think he's fucking pretty. So it like misses him, and I just hit the ground again right away. Like the adrenaline stops, and then they medevac him out. Like I said, his femur and his pelvis were broken.
And that caused him to get memory loss?
Well, he hit his head. So what happened to him was
gotcha.
when we all got knocked off, he spun around and his arm caught it and it pulled him in front of the back wheels and it ran him over. Wow. It was fucking, we didn't see it. There's a GoPro angle. We watched the GoPro angle later and I'm sure all this shit is gone now. But it was like,
I want to see this,
dude. Me too. Dude, I think that's pretty much what we got.
Where it's got to be somewhere.
You're right. It should be somewhere.
It should be. Wow.
Anyway, no one's ever gonna hire me again. Whatever. It's been a good run. So
all for this podcast.
Yeah, you fucked my whole career up, Kasper.
Hey, what are you doing over there, guy? You fucking up my career.
Fuck, man, it was going so good.
You have like 1,000 views. I mean, I can't really do too much with that.
If I'm gonna leak the shit, this is where I'm doing it.
Lowbrow underground. This is the most underground you could get.
That's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. Now I feel bad. But so I had I like just, as a skateboarder, you're used to taking impact and you're just like, that night I remember shooting like my wrap up, my last scene with my kid, this kid, Lucky Borelli, that I was like producing his story and following him at camp, and,
so you still had to do that?
Yeah, I still worked that night.
So
this is why people are striking. This type of production. I chose to. In fairness, I was like, I can get my shit done. My director and our crew was actually like really concerned. No one thought it was going to go like that. There was, like I said, we had tested it with the truck and stuff. I'm totally joking around. Like that actual crew was really rad, and we had EMTs on site. EMTs told me I should go to the hospital. I told them I felt some sort of pressure, almost like gas pain, which come to find out, internal bleeding just feels like you got a fart or shit or whatever.
Remember that, folks. So
if you take a big impact and you feel like you got a fart and you can't fart, go to a fucking hospital. You're bleeding inside. That's what internal bleeding feels. I seriously literally was like, I just knocked some gas loose and this shit is going to settle eventually. I need a beer is what I need. So such a fucking dumbass. And and so I didn't listen to anybody, and then I flew home. And then the next day that I got home was the 4th of July. My family was coming over. I'd been gone for like about a month and a half on this production, and I think another one. And so I was married at the time, and my wife Charity at the time. We're getting ready for my family to come over and barbecue, and then she like looked at me at one point. She's like, "You're really pale." And then I started to get really lightheaded, and I went into my bathroom, and then like my lips looked blue, and then everything turned like black and white and grainy, like
everything got desaturated. Like colors got.
It was like black and white, like 800. Like it was just like really grainy. It was super strange.
I like that you use ISO.
It was
like ISO. It was 800.
But that's what it was. It was like super fuzzy, and then like sound
T-Max.
like a movie got like super far away, like echoey, like, and Charity like was like, I'm calling 911, and I was fully like, yeah, and she knows automatically if I'm like call the cops, it's bad. Like, like there was a no 911 rule for any, obviously, couple old punks, and you don't call the cops, or like you don't call fucking ambulances. You figure it out. But
you hear that? Like what? I was pointing to the camera to the audience.
Yeah,
I was saying you don't call the cops.
Yeah, you don't call the cops unless somebody's fucking dying, which is what was happening. So like I like tried to walk into the living room to get to the she's screaming on the phone with 911, and then I like Chris Farley'd I bled out internally, and I fully hit the coffee table and broke these bookends and like got whiplash. My head hit the couch and whipped my head back. My shin dug out like this. I still have a scar somewhere.
Damn. Do you have pictures? Did you take pictures after you?
No, none of it. I mean, I didn't. It was all internal. So really, like outside of the whiplash, like there's nothing like.
Oh, you weren't all bruised up.
No, nothing like that. Okay. Like I just caught my head and it just wrenched my neck because I passed out. So nothing like, you know, when you see someone get knocked out, they don't put their arms out. It was the same thing. I just fell and caught my head on the couch and just wrenched my neck. So then it was the 4th of July and I ended up in Huntington Hospital, and my window in my room that I ended up in, like, had a view of like above the Rose Bowl. So it was just like fireworks going off, and I was having like neck convulsions and vomiting and on like morphine drip. And it was just like, just like this fucking like, and they're like holding the thing for me like sideways. It was a really fucking bad fourth.
David Lynch like scene or something.
Yeah. And then the next time I saw the fucking skateboard, I went to see my parents in Lake Forest for a 4th of July parade. And the fucking skateboard is in the goddamn parade. No way. It's insane. You couldn't ride it. And I was just like, fuck this thing. That ruined the 4th of July forever for me. So, but the reason I brought that up was I got the opportunity to produce the show for Coastal Carnage, and I was still on workman's comp and still recovering. I'm not supposed to work yet. But it was such a cool, like, I never got to do my own show. And so I just took the job and jumped off workman's comp and went and was like hobbling around, shooting them, building these ramps, and did that show. Hired my buddy Brian Reardon, who I'd met through this company called Real Comp. He hadn't started his own company yet, but I knew he knew how to make a live broadcast, and I didn't. And that came with the ticket of doing the show. Like, you know, we need a TV show and we need a live broadcast. So I was like, well, this guy's going to do the live broadcast and I'll do the fucking TV show. And that was the one time I hired him. He's hired me ever since then. Like, you know, we both worked with Schaefer really closely. And Ryan Clements, and they, you know, we're both running at the time the skate park of Tampa. So, you know, Fuel TV the next year stopped doing Tampa, and they had met Brian and myself and hit up Brian to do the live broadcast for Tampa, and we stepped in, and then that year I produced it, and like basically that was like one of my I'd done like
Stop.
Oh, okay. Yep. We'll cut it.
I thought there was like something to do with like mini DV tape or what was that? Like
Oh.
AE lock. Or does that make sense?
Yeah.
What is
That's a
that?
thing. I forget what that setting is, but I've seen that on fucking things. Where
This
you're
is going to be the intro of us talking about shit that people don't know about.
I also don't know. Like I've seen that on.
We both don't know. We're trying to.
Let's be clear with filmmaking. I've always learned just what I need to know to get it done. I'm not like the guy who's the most tech. I have a lot of friends that I can call that help me out, like Tom Carter with editing stuff. Tommy, he like that dude saves my ass all the time.
Yeah,
He's an actual editor. I'm just the guy who can kind of
the same. I'm just jack of all trades, master of none for sure.
Yeah, you like see a real. It's like seeing a pro skater for the first time. You're like, oh, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, that's the difference.
Right. That's right.
That's why he's getting paid.
And going back to like when I knew I wasn't going to be a pro skater, I think just seeing pros at like Huntington skate park and shit, like seeing Jeff Raleigh at like I remember seeing him at Tribuca Hills High School Edges, which was like a big spot in like late 90s, early 2000s. Like it's the school where all the early Anthony Van England shit, where you're super fresh and he's skating the full size tables. He put like full size tables up on like that railing and like nose grind up them and drop down over stuff. Like that school. I saw Jeff Raleigh skate there, and he did like he wasn't even filming. He did a line where he did full speed tray flip, full speed front 360 ollie flat ground, full speed boards to this whole double sided ledge with the wheel pop over to the other side, and just had just gotten there. He was just skating, and I was just like, that's the scariest thing ever. I would fucking be terrified to try a front 360 going as fast as you could possibly push on flat ground. Like there's no there's no reason for that.
Yeah, there's no reason for that.
It's uncalled for.
Yeah, why are you trying to show off over there, guy?
Jeff, my man. Hey, Mr. Liverpool. I don't think he's from Liverpool. I think he's from, I don't know where he's from. Sorry, Jeff, sir. You're a legend, and I should shut up.
Yeah,
it was incredible though. But like, yeah, I think you see that stuff and you go like, this is not my path.
So you ended up doing the video thing. Like, when was the point that you were like, man, have you gotten to the point where like I've made it in this industry where
no.
Because I dabble, like I'm all over the place, and but I think that you probably have a lot more connections than I do, because you've maintained that since you were like in your early 20s.
I don't know if you ever, at least definitely someone like one of the things that I found out in therapy is that I definitely have a healthy dose of imposter syndrome, and like I don't think I'll ever feel like I made it, or like I always feel like I'm a fan of skateboarding, no matter how many of these things I get to do, you know, and like I still see like pros that I know at stuff, and I'll like forget I know them and just be like looking at them like a fan, and they're like, "Hey, Ira," like you're not saying hi, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, what's up? I know you." It's fucking weird for me, and it's less with like the younger pros than like dudes I grew up watching. Right. You know what I mean? Like it's less so, but like, you know, there's dudes that I've watched come into their own because of the Woodward show, you know, like that's how I met Zion, that's how I met Jamie Foy, that's how I met like Alex Midler, like I watched them grow up into becoming like, you know, like Sodi level and shit. Yeah. So it's a different aesthetic.
Their uncle.
No, I don't think they consider, maybe like a drunk uncle. They don't respect.
Like John Candy and Uncle Buck.
Uncle Buck, maybe more like an Uncle Buck. We have such solid 80s movies references on this. I love it. But like so it's different with those cats just because you know, I knew them a little bit before, and like not that I had anything to those dudes fucking earned their stripes on their own without anything I ever did. But like I'm not saying like that I had anything to do with it, which is I didn't I don't know if I did say that, but this is again getting back into my
you have to be comfortable. I mean, like I think one of the biggest aspects of that filming or doing any sort of media based stuff is the skater has to be comfortable with the people, like whether it be a team manager or shooting photos. So having that you sort of have seen them grow up, they definitely have to feel comfortable. Yeah, I think I have the ability, I guess, to diffuse like tension sometimes or add levity to situations that are like, you know, especially filming like gnarly skateboarding, it's like good to, you have to know the skater too and what they're comfortable with. Some dudes don't want you to say shit, and that's fine. Like I get it. Like if you're in your space and you don't want somebody talking or diffusing or making jokes, that fucking bugs some dudes out. And you know, you just kind of like read the room, right? Like, like anything else. But I definitely, I don't know that I feel like I've made it or whatever. I'm like proud of a lot of the things I've gotten to do. It's like it means a lot to me that I get to be in the room a lot of the time, you know, especially like going back to stuff like Tampa. Like that's a really important thing for me to be a part of. You know, getting to film certain dudes in the streets like that I'm a fan of, like that's always going to be like, you know, if you know, I've gotten to go out, like I'm working on a project with Sheckler now. He's like a legend he's a great dude, and it's really rad to get to work with him, and he'll bring out like Danny Way and Colin McKay on us, you know, and that goes back to like the first videos I watched. It's like questionable in virtual reality. It's like crazy to be on a street session, you know, like a skate mission with those guys. For me, that's when I'll feel fucking self-conscious. You know what I mean? Like it's like a Pat Duffy or fucking Sean Sheffy or like those dudes. Like that's hard for me to like be like, oh, I just instantly get this like, I don't belong here. This is weird, you know? Yeah. But like for my homies, like, you know, even Ryan, I've worked with him for long enough to just like, that's just my bud, you know, like you forget almost that they're these gnarly dudes until they skate. Like Ryan or Jamie or, you know, Zion, I will forget how fucking gnarly they are. We're just dorking around and then they skate something and you're like, oh yeah, this dude's fucking Sodi. Yeah. You're fucked. Dude, yeah, I was gonna say, so one time I was working for this distribution company, and one of the companies was a shoe company that Mike V was on, and I had to coordinate like a trip between some dude that was coming from Germany, him and a couple dudes that were, I think, from Oregon or something like that. They had come down here, and I had to get the van. I had to find somebody else that would help out with like doing video and stuff, and I was so nervous to meet Mike V. Yeah, I had never.
He's an intimidating cat.
He is. I mean, he's got his own thing going on, but like, I was just
legend.
I was just so in my head the whole time, like not wanting to just screw it up. Like all of a sudden, I basically had the responsibility of a team manager, and I didn't really sign up on that, but I also didn't want to say no to the opportunity to go pick up Mike V in Long Beach and then go pick up Christian Svitak in Carlsbad or wherever he was, and then go skate spots. But the whole time, I remember the Eric Sandoval I don't know if you're familiar with Eric Sandoval, but he went with me.
He does.
He shoots
East Side shooter. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Eric's rad.
Yeah, he went with me, and then I think at one point when we dropped everybody off, I was like, man, I was so nervous. He's like, I know. Just like he told me, he was like,
I could tell.
I could tell. Like for him, he probably, I mean, he had probably at that point had shot and did stuff for a lot of people, and he is a different, but it was a different like pressure to that experience. And I remember just, and like you were talking about earlier, like trying to get to know the skaters that you're filming, because I took on the responsibility of filming too, and there was, I won't say his name, but there was someone. We were at the new ab ditch, and he was trying to trick, and he was doing it over and over and over. And I got to the point, I was like, do I tell him, okay, it's not going to happen, because everybody's just kind of sitting around the ditch, and I didn't know. I was like trying to pump him up to do it, but it was like 40 minutes into doing the trick. I didn't know, like, you know what? We got some other spots to go to. Like, let's just, it's a whole nother world trying to interact with, because it's like a creative process for this other person that's completely different than yours. And it's hard to navigate through. So have you had experiences where you just, well, I'm sure you have.
That old chestnut. Yeah. Dude, like everyone's waiting on one dude to try. Yeah, dude, that's especially on...
It wasn't an isolated incident for me that I had to go through. Okay.
No, that always happens. And it's like, especially if you get like a tech guy who's like trying like a manual trick, and there's a like, it's such a weird dynamic. And usually the team is super supportive, and like no one wants to stop whoever it is trying the trick, right?
Right.
Like that's kind of on that dude to read the room and like how close, how much time do you allow that to be spent? Like that's a TM's job, right? Like the filmer, I feel like your job is to be supportive and be there and be in that moment. When you have to wear both hats, it's super hard. And it's like, you don't want to bum anyone out. You don't want to fucking kill the vibe on a trip, because that's one of the hardest things to maintain. Like morale is a huge issue in skateboarding. In this industry, it's like, I'm doing projects where it's like, you're sending a skater sometimes on their own to film with somebody, and like, you have to take vibe into consideration. So you have to put like having a homie there to skate with them in the budget, even though you're just filming one person's part. Like there's nothing else. Like there's not really like, I mean, I'm sure that other people need like, and other athletes need people to train with, or whatever, but you need to have like revs. You need to have like, it's so much easier when you have a team that has camaraderie. And I've been in both situations. Like if there's beef between two people in the van, that's like a cancer that'll kill a whole trip. You know what I mean? I've seen dudes, fight, come to blows, and then like make up and be chill the next day, or just like it's building the whole trip, and there's just like little catty fucking remarks. It's crazy. Like you have to be able to kind of influence that and like push. You become a therapist, for a lot of these guys as a filmer, as a TM. Like, did we have like,
what is that?
Those are probably those parrots, dude.
Oh,
those like the South Pasadena parrots, I think.
Those are El Sereno parrots.
Well, dude, they're everywhere. They're all over.
They're click. They joined up with El Sereno.
They're like wraiths, though. Yeah, those things are fucking gnarly. They're through here. We're in Alhambra, and like they come through here, and they fucking like when I was in South Pass, they used to live in a tree outside my house for a couple months. It was the worst.
Yeah, the ones from El Sereno have like 3 dots like tattooed.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, yeah. I was just tripping. I was like, am I hearing it? Like, what is that? But I was like, is it coming through the mic? Is it picking up?
I can hear them for sure, yeah. But they're... So those are parrots, people.
Yeah. Just so you know, I'm sure. I thought it was a coffee. It's like when I was younger, so...
You're tweaking.
Strung out on meth, and it's like, did you hear that? I'm on the come down from the espresso right now. Wait, shh.
Should I make more? Because this isn't really worked out.
All right, so
there's just a guy outside with like a squeaky bike. Just a rusty ass bike chain.
Just okay, so
it's amazing.
Yeah. All right, so Yeah, that's a hard.
Yeah, you wear a lot of hats if you're filming on a trip. Like it's so much more than just like camera operating. You know what I mean? You're finding spots. You're finding where people are gonna fucking eat. You're trying to like break at a time when like it's just there's so much to that shit.
It's like a unit production manager for a film. Like a lot of people don't even know that the unit production manager is the one that keeps a film together in all aspects of it. Like that's really the head honcho. Yeah. Above the director. Really. I mean, that's the one. Yeah. And I think that.
Yeah, like the AD, the fucking. they're going ape shit out there right now. I fucking love it. They might be killing a cat.
It's like 20 of them just like stomping out the cats.
It's a straight up gang of parrots.
That's what I'm saying. They're like stomping them out.
Dude, they're gnarly. They'll dive bomb you if you're in a tree and shit too. They're fucked. Get some B-roll of the parrots. This is another thing that we're talking about off camera.
So many. Man, I'm going to have a whole day of like
spray the whole footprint. Yeah, you're going to come back.
Trying to gather B-roll.
Let's schedule another day for B-roll, yeah.
Yeah, we're almost. This is funny because this is probably like the longest one that I've done so far.
Well, I'm what doctors call a chatty Cathy. All right, so I can really go.
Yeah, an hour, bro. I won't go over an hour. I'm good.
We're gonna be concise. I'm not gonna wander. We're gonna just be right by the book.
All right, so let's expedite a little bit, right? So
yeah.
You got connected. Let's talk about your connection to Red Bull, even though you're not going to get paid. I asked you to put on a hat, right? Like so you could get some extra money for this.
It's my job to make sure the dudes I'm filming have their hat on.
So you're the other way around.
I don't get paid to wear the hat. Yeah.
So for you, that's just how did that happen? And then were you there when Sheckler did his thing in the bridge, like?
Yeah, I made that video. Yeah.
Oh, you were there for that?
Yeah, I filmed that. Yeah, that's the scariest thing I've ever filmed in my entire career.
Is it by
far? Yeah, that was.
Screw it. Let's talk about that because I guess who really cares like how you ended up working for Red Bull, because I'm sure it's just from.
Yeah, it was just. I mean, I did all this live production shit and made a bunch of skate videos, right? And Battle of the Barracks Live, Tampa, worked on the first season, helped develop the format with the Uncle Toad's Media Group guys for Vance Park series, which like later became the sort of the format for park skating in the Olympics or whatever. I just worked on the show, not the actual contest format, but yeah, was doing all that stuff. I ended up getting hired by a company called ETN, which was the subscription-based app thing that where we were paying skateboarders to like wear a mic and skate in the streets live, and they made bread, and we would get permits and close like gnarly spots to like Staples Center and a bunch of gnarly shit like and they would skate with a mic on. You would hear their whole process. We're live from the streets. It was like there's a lot of stuff I'm proud of from that. It was the business model was weird. Skateboarders don't want to pay subscriptions for stuff.
I remember when you told me about that. I was like, it was like kind of complicated. You're like, you got to do this, and then you got to do that.
Yeah, you subscribe to the app and you pay like a monthly thing, like Netflix, right?
Yeah.
There was a lot of things that could have been done better, and I think that the idea is super rad. I just think that somebody has to come up with a better business strategy. But we made some really great shows, and did some cool shit live. I was in charge of the live production, so I was like the live production director, and we worked with these bonded cellular packs. So like we did Copenhagen live from the other side of the world, like Copenhagen Open.
Yeah,
like
you said bonded
cellular. So there's like these packs where there's like 8 cellular cards, and then the camera and audio goes into that, and then that goes to a broadcast truck in the like we had cameras roaming untethered in Copenhagen. And we were live within a second and a half to our app from a production truck in the valley, where I would be there with my assistant director, Blair Neighbors. It'd just be me and him, turn the truck on. And then we had like fucking, I can't remember names anymore in my old age. I'm terrible.
Yeah.
What's a fucking Freckleface? what's this? You know, fucking, he was in fucking Chump on this. How can I not? Oh my God. So we had like, I'm so sorry. Don't kill me. I get hit in the head a lot. You know what I'm saying? Growing up and stuff like that. Whew. Oh man.
But I like there's certain points where you streamline
brain bubbles.
You streamline the names and they're like bam, 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 and then like.
And I get to someone super important.
But I think the espresso maybe like it's like
It's just I'm just always this dumb.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm just gonna say freckle face. Fuck it. I'm so sorry. Anyway.
ADR once again. Okay.
Oh my God. And he was in the field like making sure that like the packs were working and stuff. But basically, we would have these cameras like running all over the city following this contest, and we were live, so we did a lot of cool shit like that I think like really fell under the radar, and it was a great learning experience. But anyway, coming out of that, I got the opportunity to make a skate video for Red Bull through my friend Tom Curran.
Not Ty Evans.
No, not Ty Evans. No, but he was in he had a part in Chomp.
Okay.
Yeah. He's like the best Call of Duty. Dude, oh my God, it's going to drive me fucking insane. Just look up at Freckleface on fucking Instagram. My phone's off.
At Freckleface?
Yeah. Why am I fucking so stupid? This is like, he's a legend. Filmed a ton of the Zero stuff with Jamie. I could draw you a picture of his face. Plays golf. He does videos where he just humps his crotch and drinks Coors Light and cooks vegetables that he grows in his garden.
We're gonna.
Anyway, no, it's fine.
Go ahead.
We're gonna cut the whole episode out of
the whole thing.
The whole thing is done. Anyway, fuck me. Okay, so
I'm so trying so hard. Instagram is Chomp on this.
No, his Instagram's Freckleface.
Freckleface, yeah. Sorry.
Anyway,
I'm not, yeah.
At Freckleface, you guys know. You guys are. I'm the only one who doesn't know his name right now. Everyone, any skateboarder watching this is screaming.
You'd be like terrible
screaming
at
at me
fucking
right
charades.
now. I literally feel like I just had an aneurysm, and I don't know. Oh my God, what an asshole. Okay, well, anyway.
I don't want to cut any of that. Keep going.
Okay, good. No, please don't cut that. Make me look like the asshole that I am. I deserve it. But yeah, so after the ETN experience, which, we all got, again, I got fired. Like we all got laid off. No?
Okay. Nothing is coming up under his Instagram.
Nothing under Freckleface.
Well, I mean, there is, but it's like...
it's just these
cute
chicks.
girls. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. I feel like actually committing Harry Carey right now. All right. So anyway, no one's gonna watch this whole thing. So
yeah, they're not gonna. It's like an hour.
This part is definitely you need the porn.
The chapter again will be freckle face. It's gonna be
right
about 20 minutes. Okay. All right.
So after ETN went down, I ended up.
How long did that last for you?
It was like about a year.
About a year. Okay.
Yeah, it was about a year. It was. It was on track for I think a while. I think the spending was
we were trying to do something through the skate shop, right? Where
the
you
numbers,
were
we're gonna do like a watch party through the shop. Which is one of the things that was like, it was growing up to a certain point, and then they kind of capped production spending, which is like what producers do, and they're like, we're spending too much, but the business model was working up to that point. Like the subscribers were on track or ahead of schedule.
Gotcha.
But we had just spent too much to get it there. Or whatever, and then I don't know, it was business bullshit at the end of the day. But we did some pretty cool stuff. We had like Forrest Edwards fought a security guard at a federal building live on one of our shows because the security guard swung first, But whatever. It was a self-defense fight, but we had it was crazy. It was like if you were watching that shit, we did some pretty wild shit. I'm proud of it. But
that's dope. There was nothing else really out there that did that. I was gonna say it's the fail.
It was live street skating, which is like super, in my opinion, like innovative. It was one of the coolest things.
Yeah, because it's really not about the failures, right? I'm sure up until this point in your life, you've realized that success for whatever that means for you is going through those, like being okay with the failures because they happen, and I think that's what keeps a lot of people from
that's
just keep
that's the classroom,
keep
right?
on trucking,
yeah. Like failing, anytime something doesn't work, that's when you learn the most. I think you learn more from failures than you do success. Like
big time.
I always have. Like I feel like you refine based off what doesn't work. Like you but you gotta still, try things that are not what everybody's doing. Otherwise it's just all the same bullshit. You just living in this like mediocrity where it's like we're all doing the same thing, and that's not how art is created or anything that seems exceptional, or like you don't get those. We had lows. We had like technical lows and audio failures and things that were hard to stomach, and then we had like moments that were so like you just felt high after the show, where it was just like that was something special. That was like the Copenhagen thing, or some of the live skate shows were incredible. I felt like they were really successful. But that chapter ended, and then Tom Curran approached me about doing a skate video with Zion and Alex Midler and Jamie Foy, and which would come to be called You Good, with a question mark. Are
you good?
I'm not good at most things. But it was a cool process of like I just wanted to make a skate video because Red Bull is like a bigger company that you just kind of expected to get this like really polished like cinematic, like tons of slow motion and like camera stabilization and stuff that I think like loses some of like the raw energy of skate videos. And I wanted to just spend the money on travel and music licensing and things like that. And
this was all your choice to be able to
do it? Yeah. So basically I have a production company called Speed Wobble.
Okay.
And this was my production. So I directed and produced You Good and shot and edited it.
Was this the first time that you were able to work with like that big a budget?
No, because some of the live productions we've done have like, sometimes I spent like, it was like it was a good budget. But some of the live productions we spend the amount of money that I had a year to make this thing on in the weekend, like with Brian and Auxiliary Channel, like we've dealt with these like massive budgets, but you're also doing an event and it's a lot more pre-production and rehearsals and shit. And then that's the difference between the live production stuff that I love is it's all this planning. When we did Battle of the Barracks live for the first time, we had to figure out how to do the live scoring and create those letters in camera while it was happening. Like that was challenges like that are testing and like working with the graphics op. And I ultimately had to be like a judge myself and keep track of who's offensive and defensive and what letter they need. And then that graphics operator has to have that command ready to go. So that means there's like, all these options and all these commands, and you have to like organize all that and rehearse all that so that it looks like the edit when it happens live. Like so-and-so waiting for an A for Luan Martinez, waiting for an A for Luan Martinez. So he's just waiting. And then it changes, like, and then you pull up that next graphic. It's like that shit, it didn't work at first. When we were like trying to rehearse it, we almost gave up on doing the live scoring. And, we just tried it a few more times and we created a workflow in the truck that worked, and that stuff is super exciting for me. Something like this, when you're traveling like that, and that becomes the biggest cost, and bringing camera operators around and hiring local camera operators, like that's going to be where that budget goes essentially for the most part. And then editing and music rights, so it wasn't the biggest budget, but it was the biggest budget for a skate video for sure, like for non-broadcast. And so I was, it was really cool to be able to do that, and to be able to do that with dudes like that I had known for so long and like watched them come into their own, like Jamie had already been Sodi, like Alex was really coming into his own, and Zion was already like the guy. So it was like sick. And then Sheckler was like, he had just come back from an injury that happened on one of our ETN shows where he fractured a vertebrae in both of his ankles. And like that, he had taken a year-long recovery and then was, physically feeling good again. And like he came out on a bunch of those trips, and one of those trips was Taiwan, back to the tail drop. So that was like one of the craziest days of filming skateboarding in my whole life, where we went to this bridge to look at, like Kenji, who is a Japanese photographer who lived in Taiwan a bunch.
So the guy Kenji?
Yeah, so Kenji is the man. Fucking Kenji-san. I love you, dog. He's super rad photographer, but he had like Taiwan pretty locked down, Cool. I didn't budge your camera. So we're still framed up, dude. So yeah, he's just has like all these Taiwan spots. So he had like sent us kind of the spot book when we were planning that trip, and Taiwan is so rad. It's like this combination of like China and Japan. So it's like Western and Eastern cultures kind of really coexisting. I mean, for right now, China's going to fucking eat that shit up real soon. That's like going to be the next Hong Kong. They're going to fucking go in there and red curtain.
This is where we're going to deviate from the detour from the skateboarding. Let's talk about
yes.
China's
so
takeover of the world.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, but it's a really cool place for skateboarding because also they don't really have laws against it, or they didn't at the time. You're starting to see no skateboarding signs, but like police would tell us
because of that
well,
happening, right?
No, I mean that definitely created a wave, you know, the tail drop thing, but not as big as it got made out to be.
Gotcha.
But like so there was this bridge, and Ryan wanted to tail drop it, and no one had ever touched it. And the photo made it look massive, you know. We went to look at it, and it was like fucking bigger than the photo. Like, it's a massive bridge, like a 15-foot drop to where the transition starts, almost like I don't know how big of a drop, but like maybe not 15 feet, like 12 feet, overhead high by a couple feet, by like 4 feet or something like that. I'm not good at math, so, but definitely like. You couldn't like climb up that thing, you know? So minimum 8 feet. I don't know. You have to watch the video.
We'll send a link to the measurements of it.
Where you hit the top of the tranny is like, you know, like a story basically.
Yeah.
And it's not super wide. And then there's freeway. You know, it's like a freeway off ramp and on ramp on one side going into the city. So it's also going under like a military airport. Okay. So
I have a question for you, really.
Yeah.
So that you guys were showing a picture of it, right? Mm-hmm. Do like the skaters like just sort of look and be like, oh, I got something for that spot, and
yeah, totally.
And he was the only one that was like,
Ryan was
because he was just amped up on skating again after his injury.
Yeah, he'd been getting a lot of clips on the trip. He'd been doing like and skating with Zion and Jamie. I felt like he was jumping on like rails and stuff he doesn't normally skate. That's not really like his vibe, and he was like holding his own and jumping on these like pretty gnarly spots with them. So, like, for example, there was the spot that ended up being Jamie's last trick this is like this huge stadium rail, like 20-something with these little like millimeter gaps in the rail, and he ended up nose grinding it. That's the same day as the tail drop. So we go to the bridge, and it's like I said, it's on this like near this military airport, and we kind of get we get surrounded. Someone sees Ryan up on the bridge checking, but yeah, to answer your question, he saw the photo and was like, I want that, and nobody else wanted anything to fucking do with it.
Yeah, okay.
And we get there, and I was like, nobody's gonna skate this. And then Ryan's like, yeah, it's on, let's fucking go. So he gets up there, and somebody calls in like a suicide attempt, thinking that he's gonna jump off the bridge because it's fucking that big. It's like you just don't think like normal people. This guy, you know, bless his heart, this chubby Taiwanese dude just thought he was saving someone's life, but he really like fucked our shit up. So like, you know, MPs and ambulances and shit show up, and they're like, what are you guys doing? Get the fuck out of here. And we left, and it was like Ryan was at that point where we had cameras set up when they showed up. Like, so it was like he's at the point where he's ready to go. Yeah, when someone is at the point where they're ready to do, you know, a tail drop like that, or anything where your like life is on the line, you are sort of, your adrenaline and, you know, just like the level of intensity in your body, like your awareness, everything is heightened, you know, like it's as if you were about to get in a fight and it gets cut off. Like you know, like a heavyweight fight for a belt, like something you've been training for. And like you do the stage walk in and you're about ready to, and then it gets cut off, right? Like that scenario is really unhealthy for, I think, like anyone. And Ryan was definitely sort of like boiling over a little bit because he was up on the bridge, like ready to go. And then it was like, you know, cops and, you know, Taiwanese military and
then in his mind, it's like, this is my only opportunity to do this.
Right. You just feel, it feels like you're never going to, but again, like, so there's no actual law against skateboarding in Taiwan. Or there wasn't at the time. I'm not sure where they're at now with the legality of skateboarding. And so we just kind of had to like figure out what we were doing next. And we had bounced around to a couple spots, and the vibes were definitely, you could feel like Ryan's angst. And I think everybody kind of, Jamie and Zion, like wanted to make something happen as well. And we talked about it earlier, like the revs and the vibes on a trip, like, on a skate trip, it's really important and hard to manage. And I think, so Jamie, his solution was, after a couple of spots that were duds that we checked out, he called out like one of the spots that Kenji had showed us that was like another super gnarly spot. It was the stadium rail that had these little millimeter gaps in the railing. Like there was like 4 or 5 gaps, in the actual rail that you grind. And it's like a massive 20 that drops off on one side, 20 something, it's like the size of Staples Center. It's a massive rail. And coincidentally also at like some sort of stadium. So Jamie was just like, all right, like, let's just go there. Like, fuck it. Like, let's just go to this spot. So, we all jump in the taxis, and I get there, there are other filmers, and like, we were kind of separated in taxis, and we get there and set up, and it looks like maybe there's some rain coming in. The weather was kind of, I know, a little iffy. And then, Jamie just starts grinding it. Like he just starts jumping on the thing, and he's one of those skaters. He has like zero hesitance, So he's first grind, he grinds it, he lands it, he rides away, and already everyone's just like, you have goosebumps with someone skating something like that. And you could tell Zion kind of like didn't want to step to it that day. But then when Jamie goes, he was like, he had a trick in mind, so he wanted to front board it. He didn't even grind it. He just like started stepping to front board and like throwing him out there. And that's a super scary trick on something that big. And like, his tries were like wild at first. Like it was, so the day is already like so hectic with the amount of the types of spots they've skated. And, Jamie gets a few more grinds in, and he's like, okay, I want to nose grind it. And I'm just like, all right, like it's one of those spots where like trick like that on a spot like that, it's probably a couple tries that you have. Like if you miss or you stick, or God forbid he gets into one of those notches in the rail, like it's just death. And he, just did it first try, and it was super insane. Like in typical like Jamie Foy fashion, it was just like, yeah, that was his ender. That ended up being like his ender in the video. And then a couple tries later, Zion lands the front board as well. And you could just...
No, you can't. Huh? No, I understand that, but you can't, we're doing an interview. We're doing an interview, so you gotta message her. Okay? Don't get mad at me. Get mad at Ira.
Yeah, it's my fault.
This is all his fault.
You can apologize for me. But so Zion gets the front board like a few tries later, and like he kind of had one hand in the water. Just the impact from something like that coming out of a front board is so gnarly, and you kind of land like on a grate for that spot too, which is like it was like splitting like half your wheels. So it was just one of those like crazy spots. It's great. It's fine. I love it. It was just one of those crazy spots where like as if there wasn't enough to deal with, you have to land on half on a grate. And then
another whole level to it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like this thing like that would throw anybody else off. I'm thinking like we're going to have to like tape a sign down or something. And they're just like, you either got it or you don't, they're just so gnarly. And then, we kind of like decided to go get some food, and I could just tell that like Ryan was so psyched on them getting their tricks, but it just made him even more full of angst. Like he was just like not even able to eat. He was just like, you could just see when someone's like stewing on something, And so I kind of just pulled him aside and was like, do you like, what's up? Like, how are you feeling? Do you want to just go back? Like while everyone's eating, we could just take a couple people and just
a little more low key.
Just barge it. Yeah, just like no setup. Just we run up, you just go. It's a one try trick, right? Like he's just, and that's all he kept saying too. He's like, I just need like one try, and you know, you have all this, like, you know what could happen, but no one talks about it in those situations. You don't want to put those bad vibes out there, but I'm just thinking, like, it has to be one try. You know, there's no, like, second. If you go off the side of that thing, it's so bad. Like, you're not getting up and trying something
especially
like that.
Especially with a delivery truck going right on the side of you.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that, too. Yeah. Dude, it was so... But, yeah, so then we... He just kind of was like, well, let me go outside. We were at this like weird outdoor mall thing, and then people were grabbing food from different things. And he was just like, let me go just see how I feel outside, and just kind of like walked around. He was just pacing outside this thing, and he came back in. He's like, yeah, let's go. So I grabbed Kenji and Jay, who was our second camera operator, and we just got in 2 taxis and headed over there and, you know, built cameras real quick. And I'm the handheld shot, the like tighter shot on him that was shot in slow-mo. And then Jay set up a lock off. And as soon as we said we were ready, like we had, this other cat, this dude who owns Bamboo Skate Shop, which is in, I think, Kaohsiung, which is I think that's what it's called. It's a town like further south in Taiwan. So he came, I don't know his name. He didn't speak English, but he was super cool. He drove us around a bunch. He was rad. Total skate rat. And he was like the spot checker, right? Like the traffic checker. And everyone asks like, why wasn't there like someone looking? Cause you know, if you've seen it, when Ryan goes, like, you know, he almost gets, you know, if he had gone over the side, he would have got killed by this like truck, this like cargo truck. But yeah, we get the camera set up, spot checkers out there, believe it or not. Ryan just runs up and like puts his tail up there, and he just like, he's looking straight down to like align it with the ledge, because the ledge is like, you know, it's a couple board, it's like 2 to 3, it's like 3 to 4 board widths wide, which, you know, when you're dropping from that high into it is not that wide. So he just like sets his tail up and then like never looks at the traffic watcher. The dude, the homie's just...
He's just locked in at that point.
The dude is just waving his arms like, and I see it.
Oh shit, so there was somebody.
Yeah.
Oh.
So he's waving his arms like, don't go, because this cargo truck is coming. And Ryan just never looked up. He was just locked in. And just like he said, I'm just going to get up there and go. He just did it. And you could see in the footage, if you watch too, it kind of hung up on his tail because it was really coarse, you know, like the concrete. So it kind of shifts him backside as he's going down, and he like straightens the board out and lands, and his arm kind of hangs over the side of it. And you see this like cargo truck go by, and there's no shoulder either. There's a curb. There's no zero shoulder. There's not a bike lane or nothing. It's like a freeway. So yeah, he makes it, thankfully. And then, you know, my hands were shaking setting up for the shot. I had to lean against the actual bridge side. Like, I've never had anything make me physically shake before. And I was like, as he was going up, you could see my shot like wobbles and stuff, because I was just like actually trembling, just because this thing is so massive. It's bigger. Like, the photo really does it justice. I think the video footage kind of shows it, but it's like, when you're there, it's just so big. It's not a skate spot. So yeah. And he you know, rode off. We ran around the corner and then got into taxis. And then later on, when the video came out, there was like a thing saying, like, you know, that it was on the news in Taiwan. Like, I think that the local shop had actually posted the video, and then so they did like fine him and charge him with, again, there's no laws against skateboarding, so it was like a pedestrian being like in a traffic only or car only zone or something like that. It's like a $9 fine, like when you know, with the conversion rate, like $9 US or something. So that got paid, and we're all settled up, and everything's all good legally.
How much time did it take, like from the point of like getting to the spot to landing the trip?
The second time when we were there, it was like, God, it's hard because that all moves in slow motion. But, you know, setting up cameras as fast as you can, in that scenario, I would say that there's no way we were there for more than 10 minutes. Like, before we were like around the corner and out. Like, it was pretty, like, I think we had partially built. It's hard to remember now. It's been over 2 years, but I think that I was at least partially built. And yeah, I'd left my sticks with those guys too. I'd left my tripod, and Jay just needed to get his camera on the sticks and like lock off and turn it on, focus, expose, and then it was just like, yeah, we're good. Kenji was the one we were waiting on the longest. Kenji, I'm looking at you. It's always the photographer, but his photo is incredible too. It's like it should have been a Thrasher cover. I think like anyone who's seen that photo, like that, and then that magazine, you know, no disrespect, I don't even know who was on the cover, but like. Something that gnarly that should have been a cover, in my opinion. My humble opinion that nobody cares about, that I'm well aware nobody gives a shit. Just,
I was gonna say most skate spots in general, when you go to them, like the first time I went to Firestone Ditch and you like seeing people skate it.
Yeah.
You're
that
like,
place is so hard to skate.
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, I could do this, I could do that. Well, especially for someone at my level. But like, you know, again, as you stated earlier with pros, you start to see these spots where they're skating, and you're like, yep, that's why they're pro. Like that spot was one of the first spots that I went to. I was like, holy shit! Like, or in the car wash in Hollywood, I remember just dropping in on the bank.
Yeah,
and I ended up in the middle of Hollywood Boulevard or Sunset or whatever that is, but just like shaking. And it was like, I mean, just the fact that people were doing tricks off of the roof into the bank is just, it's crazy. So that was one of the, how was the energy after?
It was just like all hugs and screaming. And I didn't even film any of the aftermath, which I always film, but it was one of those things where I just hit record on the camera. And I think I was just running and screaming and just like, I was, you know, it's pure. You feel like you did it. Something that gnarly, like it translates. You're scared for them beforehand, and afterwards, you have as much like joy and excitement as you. I mean, because that's my brother. You know what I mean? Like he just lived. Like it was like. It's not even just we got the clip. It's like you're alive.
Did you guys tell him that the truck was? Because I'm sure, like when he was in it,
I mean, he saw it ride by him when he was riding away. Yeah. But at that point, you're so locked. Like he was so locked in. I say you're like as if I've ever done anything like that. Like, but you know, like anything like that in skateboarding, you know, when you're focused on something that's that difficult or that scary, if you're not fully in the moment, you're gonna get fucked.
Yeah.
So it was crazy. It was definitely, to this day, I hope I'm never as terrified filming anything ever again. But skate stopped it too. Also.
Oh, they did. Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, there's like little like bars going across it. And
so
like
nobody's ever gonna hit that spot. Probably.
I mean, I don't know what else would you do, like switch tail drop or like dump truck. Just like I don't know, man. It's just like it's. I mean, that thing is messed up. It had been there a long time, you know. So
had anybody ever tried to do?
No, it was just Kenji. It was one of Kenji's dream spots. Like driving around Taiwan, he had like the stadium rail was the same thing. No one had ever skated it, and it got nose grind like first go. As far as I know, no one's been back to that thing either. And that thing is, you know, it's like if Staples Center was a rail with notches in it. It's so unappealing. And then like Foy, when he saw that thing, he's like, this thing is perfect. You're just like, those guys are just all on another, like they see stuff that I'm like, no one's going to skate that, Kenji, like next. And then they're like, yes, can't wait to go. Let's do it. They're just psychos.
So when you had released your part for the video magazine, or it was video magazine, right?
Yeah, for iDabble, yeah.
For iDabble?
iDabble?
Oh, iDabble, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot already.
No, you're good.
I'm on the come down.
No, you're fine. Yeah,
that was like 3 hours ago that we were talking about that. So talk a little bit more about that experience, because I think that, you know, because of the timeline for skateboarding, there are a lot of dudes that got into skating in the 80s and the 90s, but they're still healthy enough to produce material that there's going to be other people that are stoked on. And that was one of the main reasons that you wanted to do it. For one, like she had never done that before, but with the whole skating curbs style of skateboarding really being adopted by even younger kids that will go out and slap you a curb.
Yeah.
If there was a time for that, it would be now.
Sure.
Anyway, but I don't just talk about that process of being where you're at now and reflecting on your life and putting out a part and then basically doing all curbs.
Yeah.
Oh, and then your crew. And you could talk about the crew too.
Yeah. I mean, there's just like, you know, a few years ago, I had, you know, before even ETN, I had started skating. Well, I had been working a lot in the skate industry, And then I've been working with a board brand called Warco, and I did a video called Sun Machine with like Jordan Maxim and Norman Woods, who was also in iHeart. And that got like, a great response. We got nominated for Transworld Video of the Year without running like any ads. We were just a small company trying to like, I didn't own the company. I was just trying to help my homies out. And the experience of working with a board brand was something that really just like burnt me out on the skateboard industry, and not like the industry as a whole, but like just, trying to like coordinate with the owners on like getting boards ready for when this video came out, so that it was just like being a part of like all the spokes in the wheel, all the things you have to align to make something like that successful. Like we wanted it to work, it was like, we knew we had this great video. We knew these guys had been killing themselves for like 2 years, and we wanted like, there to be a sales force, like, or at least a couple people ready to sell these boards and get new like shop certs out, and like, that we wanted inventory and a plan with graphics and all that stuff. And we got like most of the way there, and they just sort of stopped short on printing enough boards. Like, I don't know if they didn't have faith, but then like I was on all the emails, and you could just see all these like, shop certs, like shop requests coming in, and then orders coming in and not being fulfilled, and they sold right out of the stock that they had right away. And like,
so
just
the
like
opportunity was definitely there.
Exactly. It was like that thing of like, like this was the moment that we've been working on for 2 years. You got to invest in this moment. And I get that as a small business owner, and from their side as well, like that's a tough thing. You have to put a lot of bread up, like, so that whole thing, it just didn't really pan out. And then like there was a bunch of frustration from shops and orders and all this shit. And I felt like the team had really come through, and we tried to come through with the video. And so I just like, I kind of started focusing on my other work, my like non-skate production work, and except for like the live productions and stuff like that. And then that's really when I just started going back to skating curbs, and I started skating with Chris Pastris and a couple dudes like Abe Ethel and Scott Hursk and, just like Matt Marcus, who's a grip, works in film sets. He's a super rad dude. He's the guy who first like waxed up Costco too. Like he's the guy who started that spot. Like,
Matt was?
Matt Marcus, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that he was one of the...
Yeah. So, and then like they skate stopped it. We like cut the knobs off, and at that point we were skating Home Depot a ton, and like we built a lot of the shit there and dug a lot of those curbs out. And that became like a real, like I just got so psyched. Like we talked about earlier, I just felt like a kid again. I just felt like I was 12 with my buddies, skating curbs. Like, you don't think about work. You don't think about like, any bullshit.
You guys are getting up at like 6 a.m. at certain times.
We all had fucking jobs, and like, some of these dudes had kids and stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and so it was like, you got to go at 7. You got to go, and then by 9 you got to be at work. So we were getting it in the morning, and I've been, I'm always been like kind of a morning dude anyway, and it's cold out. I'm fat. I want to skate when it's fucking 90 degrees outside. Yeah. Like I want sweaters. I want a sweater session, man. I want a hoodie on, extra layer.
I feel that.
So yeah, it just kind of like, then like, it's funny because like I had the Curb Killer Instagram forever, but that kind of just became like such a cathartic thing. Like, like shooting, just filming clips on our phones and all that shit. Like it'll just like became this like really fun cycle. And then I started going through, like marital problems and stuff. And like I'd been married for a really long time, and that started to sort of dissolve. And that was about 2019. And pretty much as soon as we decided we were going to split up, COVID hit. It was like, so that was super hectic, and I ended up, I had gained a ton of weight. I was like 265. I was
gonna say, yeah, you look good, man.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I've still got my womanly curves.
A little bit, but like
voluptuous.
your top, like I was gonna mention that earlier, but I was waiting for you to bring it up because I was like, what if he's the same weight? And I'm like, or like, I don't know. I didn't want to like when you tell
bro,
someone,
you look fine as fuck too. I was gonna say something. No, so I got to a point where I was depressed, and it was the first time in my life where I was really like drinking because I was bummed.
Yeah.
And like that doesn't help. That just amplifies, it doesn't like make anything better. And I never like had like a drinking problem unless I can't get a drink. Tom waits for you. Sorry. I'd rather have a bottle in front of me than a frontal lobotomy. You know what I'm saying? Okay. I'm going to shut the fuck. Okay. So anyhow, so yeah, it was like, I the divorce dissolved, or the marriage dissolved, and we decided to get a divorce and, did therapy. I ended up starting to go to therapy on my own. And that was the point where I decided, like, I'm going to film a part. I was 265. Like, some of the footage in that video part, I'm 265. I'm, like, pushing at 267, like, up around 270. Like, I was heavy. And I fell, actually, at the beginning. I fell and, like, just, like, stacked on a curb, and it separated my shoulder. Just because of my weight. Like, I just tackled the ground, and my shoulder separated, and it sucked. So I ended up moving in with my buddy Tom Carter in Oceanside and just getting out of LA, just kind of getting, he doesn't really party, you know what I mean? He's like really like work centric, and he does a lot of my post, he has a post-production company called Press Digital Media. He makes amazing stuff for like Louis Vuitton and like, huge rap videos, and he's done stuff for MTV, and, he's just like big time, but he's a skateboarder. So we would just,
and you had started.
Yeah, he'd been all my
filming.
videos. Yeah, back to like Ira Skateboarding. He did the VHS master for that. So he mastered it to VHS, and we redigitized that, put that on a DVD. I say we, but he did all this. Like, he's the smart one. Yeah. I had like I want to do this, and like, which was not a super original idea, but it just
Steve Jobs of the operation.
Dude, he just is an actual editor. Like we said, like you see a pro skater, and you go like, oh, like, that's what a pro skater is. Like Tom, when I see him edit, I'm like, oh, that's an editor.
Has the keyboard with the colors. I'm like, I've never even touched one of those.
Yeah, he types when he's editing. He's not like using the mouse. Like, he kind of clowns me for like my mouse. He's just
all
like
the shortcuts.
Yeah, just and then the project is building. He's a psycho. So
I want to go. So when you were coming out of that separation, because I've sort of have gone through something similar.
Right. Yeah.
You start to feel lost, and then you don't. I think so. The desire to have, I guess, like a goal. Like, I mean, that really came out of being in a dark place.
Yeah, totally.
Because there's a sort of reoccurring theme on this podcast of just people, and I guess we'll highlight this moment for you. So we're getting like something, not. No, I don't.
This is the goal, the human suffering. This is what we want.
This is where we.
Okay,
but
I'll try to muster up a tear.
But just I think because one of the things about skateboarders is, and I think this is what it teaches us, is like falling down over and over again. I mean, Seinfeld has like talked about, like, we're falling down over and over, and that actually like creates a sort of ability to go through darker times and have there's a deeper focus. So like for you at that time, having that goal, it was much more, right, for you to want to produce that, just because you had never done it before. You needed something to work towards.
Yeah, it was this like perfect storm of things, like I was in like probably the low point of my adult life. Like, I was depressed for sure, trying to like reconcile this divorce and this midlife crisis that I never saw coming. I was fat. I was, I was just not healthy, and mentally or physically, and I wanted something to put all of my energy into. Work stopped, and that's something that I've always like put myself into. Like, I'm sort of a workaholic, and always sort of going, and like balancing multiple projects is something that I really like. I like the feeling of going and going and going, and like that was all. I didn't have that to drown out what I was going through. I didn't, this relationship that was a huge part of my identity. It was like a 20-year relationship. I had to like figure out who I was outside of that.
Yeah.
And therapy was the saving grace for me, and then moving back in with Tom and like really focusing on my mental health and like drinking less. I mean, I never quit drinking, but I definitely.
You have an amazing bar, by the way. I mean,
oh, thank you.
I quit drinking just recently. I'm like, damn, I just want to just start chugging. I mean, it's beautiful over there.
I tend to, like, if I get into something, I'm like, get really into it. And I used to be a bartender, and I love tiki drinks and stuff like that. And, it's always been like a celebratory thing, or like, something that I enjoyed, and a social thing. But this was the point where it's like during COVID, I'm by myself, like drowning my sorrows. And it just felt bad. It just was different than.
I think I remember seeing like your Instagram feed around that time. Maybe I think it was.
I was getting dark for sure.
Yeah,
there was a lot of like, like thoughts of suicide, of like, there was a lot of like, what is my life now? Who even am I? And, yeah, dude, it sucked. And I mean, I never was I don't think I was ever, I had to learn that I liked myself. I had to learn that like, I liked my life. I could rebuild it. I could, I had to, it was really, really fucked up to say it, because you have all this guilt. Like, it was just such a strange thing. I never thought I would have to like reinvent myself. I grew a mustache.
That says it all. Right?
It was like, really? I never thought I was going to have a mustache. Who is this guy? Yeah. But it is. It's part of it that came out of it. I didn't want to look the same. It was a weird, and maybe it'll go away one day. But like, I just like, I did a ton of therapy, and I really had to go like, I want to be okay with myself. And so I started working. I started working out. I started jumping rope. I started eating better. I cut the drinking, like way back, almost to nothing. But like, the therapy was, at the end of the day, like I had to be okay with like the weird guilt that I had. Like I felt like I walked away from something, and it wasn't like, a one-sided thing. It was just like, it's like my whole identity was wrapped up in this. From 20 to 40, I was like in this marriage that was such a huge part of my life. And that's a really hard thing to lose. And it took a lot of work, and I just needed something that I could put like my anger in too, like, and like I could go and skate, and like I could take slams, and I could go and like just brutalize myself, like skate for 3 or 4 hours till I couldn't walk, and like till I was sore, and like film this stuff. And it was fun. It was like, it wasn't like as like Rambo montage as I'm making it sound. It was just like, it just needed it. It was cathartic,
Those are their 80s.
Yeah. You're gonna need a montage. Montage. But it was just like, so a lot of things happening at once. Okay. There's your emotional build. You want But yeah, like it was so good for me. And I mean, it all just happened at the right time. It's so weird. It felt like it was all supposed to happen. I'm not a big believer in like fate or anything like that. I really believe that the world is chaos, and you just kind of make the best of it, and nothing really matters. Sort of a nihilist. I think that.
And on that note, we were done. There's no beautiful sunset, rainbows, and clouds.
there is though, but there
actually is a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, that's why I was like, I wanted to talk about it a little bit, because I think a lot of people that go through things are going through their struggles, because I was right there where you were, and. I mean, I'm still kind of figuring it out. You get a little more of a hold on it than I don't know
about that. I'm still
maybe not. I don't know. Like
yeah.
From the exterior anyway. But wow. Knowing that you have gone through that, and then seeing what we were talking about this earlier, where you just, when you're in those moments, you just don't see any other way out, or you don't ever see yourself in a position that you want to be there, but when you're in it, you can't visualize it. Because you're still stuck in all those old emotions.
Yeah, it's so easy to get lost in that stuff, man. Like, it's hard to see, you can't see the forest for the trees, right? Like, you're so close to it, it's hard to have any perspective. And like, now I know that, life goes on no matter what you do. Like, life doesn't give a shit about your pain. Like, life doesn't give a shit about what you're going through. Like, life is going to keep going. And I don't necessarily believe that you have an existence beyond this world, like a supernatural existence. I believe energy doesn't die. It just changes forms. There's, in a sense, life is this like cycle, but our consciousness, like this is all I get, and I'm trying to make the best of it. And there are sunsets. Like, you get to see that. If you check out, that's it. Like, you don't get a second chance. Like, it's not a rehearsal. Like, this is it. So I didn't want to give up, and I wanted to focus on I'm lucky that I had that time, right? Like, without work, without these distractions to work on myself, like the whole pandemic thing, like it timed out for me in this crazy way that ended up being so therapeutic, and like the video part was cathartic, and then at the end, like this board happened, and yeah, like this resurgence in like curb skating was sort of already had, you know, like started on the front end of that, I think, and now it's even like so many people my age or that were struggling with alcoholism or any issues, divorces. So many people have reached out to me and like said that the part helped them, and like something I would have never thought that I would have like influence like that, or even like been able to help people through this thing. It was for me, you know, it was like I needed this. So that was such a crazy, surreal part of the experience, and like life changing, you know, like I don't know. I don't really have like a full grasp on it. It still doesn't all feel real, you know, but it really did. Like, it's just been this like profound thing in my life that it just kind of snowballed. So,
yeah, I mean, it's really beautiful to have watched, because I knew where you were at before, and I knew what you went through, and then I mean, I haven't really been able to talk to you since I believe that there's things that we don't understand about our existence and,
100%.
and spirituality.
yeah.
But I will counter what you're saying, that it doesn't matter. And I think that you're someone who wanted something, you know, really bad, and that extends over actually into, you know, it did matter. Like everything that you like, because there's always a way to turn a negative into a positive, and your negative, there's always going to be value in something. And the fact that you went through what you went through allowed these other people, and that sharing like this circular synergy of energy that is like, I believe in that wholeheartedly, that it does matter, and your experience of what you went through matters. And then the fact that you're helping people, you know, it matters. Like I wouldn't say there's a plan necessarily by like some dude or whatever, but
Sure.
You open yourself up to, you know, what the universe has to offer. Like you start to receive things, and you start to, I don't know, experience life in a completely different way.
Yeah, and I'll amend what I said. Not that nothing matters. I just mean that like
nihilist.
to an extent. Like I do, but that's a freeing thought to me too, because because over time, like, you know, like our impact sort of gets like, you know, washed away, like, you know, like footprints in the sand on the, you know, like
like the song,
yeah, like the Jesus thing.
Yeah,
but like
the Jesus thing.
But except that it just gets it's just over time, like like you. But I think that like our lives here and the impact we have on people, those things matter, right? Like you can do good in this life, and you can do bad. You can you can create trauma, or you can help people. I wasn't trying to help people with this thing. It's just like, and it's amazing that if it helped 3 people, I'm psyched, you know? And no, like, of course life matters and humans matter, and like being good and being, I think, like virtuous is a better life to live than if you're, I believe in karma. I believe in like energy and all that shit. Like I do believe that there are consequences, you know, and they don't, you know, they don't always catch up to bad people. Bad people don't always catch the wreck that they deserve. You know what I mean? They don't get the wrath that they create, you know? Life's not fair, for sure. And that's what I mean when I say chaos. It's like, you know, there's no real justice. But I do think that being alive is a beautiful thing. And you know, the human experience is certainly like something that's profound, and I want to read everything I can and watch everything I can and listen to everything I can and help everyone I can and like try to make my life better. And
did you have that,
you know,
that outlook prior to going deep?
Yeah, but I think
in a dark place.
Yeah, but I think it got crushed for a while, you know? Like I think I definitely was like feeling sorry for myself, and I was like really like tail between my legs, like fuck everything. Like I want to just crawl into a hole and disappear, you know? And I got over it, you know, like all storms sort of run out of rain, you know, you have to just keep going. What other Hallmark things can I say? I'm not trying to be but like, I'm serious. It's like, it just like that shit doesn't feel like it's going to end when you're in it, you know? It just feels so bleak. And then I've had so many friends check out, and that's another thing we did, you know, like, for the board, something I'm really proud of is we raised like, I think right now it's like $1,000 for the Henry Gartland Foundation. And, you know, they do great work, and like the fact that this goes towards. No, it's Henry. So if you don't know about Henry, is a Santa Cruz Skateboards pro skater. I was fortunate enough to meet him on a couple trips, and he took his own life, and so his family started this foundation, you know, to raise money for mental health, for was it CPE, the head trauma thing, like that. Yeah, I think it's some of that too, and there's so much more awareness now for mental health, and even in something like skateboarding that has been you know, like our thing is like, you know, I'm glad we were able to raise money for such a good cause. And like, you know, I was struggling with my mental health and, you know, with dark thoughts like that. And so Henry was one of those dudes that was so positive and rad, you would have just never seen it coming. And all my friends who checked out early like that beforehand, they were the same way. It was like, you're never the guy you think. It's never, you know, it's just always these people that seem to be like such a bright light, and you don't see that struggle. So it was important that, you know, we tried to give something back to you know, in this situation, I wanted to you know, do a little bit of good with the board, and it's been a really cool thing. And then the outpouring of support over the sales, the fact that they've just like sold right away, like they've gone to shops, and like the online stuff has been like selling out in minutes. And again, that's a lot to do with Foss's board being so rad. Yeah. But it's cool. It feels good. You know, it feels like it's been like a thing. And then we did this meme contest that went nuts. Yeah. I mean, that was just like, you know, they had like hundreds. How many?
It seems
I don't know. I didn't count them. Like,
what was your
400 something?
Yeah, if you want
people submitted.
Are they all on?
Yeah. It's a Curb Killer meme comp.
Oh, okay, and they're all
hashtag Curb Killer.
Are they all on the Heroin Instagram, like where people can see them?
You got to go to the hashtag. You got to go to.
You just go to the hashtag. Yeah. Oh, gotcha. Okay.
I think some people have taken theirs down because like some people you had to pretty much hard post them. So a lot of some people made like 60. But yeah, we ended up giving a bunch of boards out, and like that was such a fun thing. The shit people came up with was like pretty remarkable.
You're a big meme guy. Like I go on your story, and it's like the little dash. It's like 100 dashes. I'm like, oh shit, dude. It's just like nonstop memes. You're like a meme ninja.
I just fire them off. You know what I mean? Like the stuff that makes me laugh, I'm like repost, yeah. And then I go through and I'll do them like, you know, 10 at a time, where I'm just like, if I'm editing, it's like render break. Okay, cool. If I like drive somewhere to shoot something and I'm waiting in the car, it's just like, that's what I'm doing. If I'm ordering food and sitting, like, it's just my like.
This is actually your intervention.
Yeah,
Ira,
it should be.
You have a problem, I think.
I don't disagree at all.
I mean, I definitely think you could have worse problems. So speaking of the board, because we talked about this earlier, somebody bought there's a kitty cat over there.
Yeah, that's Huckleberry.
What's up, Huckleberry? So it kind of bothers me that there's people that are buying, so somebody bought your board, resold it on eBay for how much?
$1,000. And they're still in shops for $60.
But the thing is, I was like, you are not even probably getting paid $1,000.
No, I think total we raised like $1,000, like all the royalties. If I was a pro skateboarder, I don't know what they would have. I think Heroin. This is not like your typical popsicle shape that you can just print 10,000 of them, and then they're gonna like be in every series, like your Baker team board or something like that. It's a specialty thing. It's a big board with a specialty shape, and then most of them have wheel wells. And that's an expensive thing. And, you know, Heroin's, you know, they want to sell all of them that they can, but they can't like do these massive investments. I think, you know, it's been like 200 or something like that boards per, and I don't even know how much we've actually raised. We're about to like add that stuff up, which is super cool.
That'll be fun.
I'm going to go see Foss soon, so I'm excited about that. We're going to definitely do a post about what we ended up, you know, getting for the charity. But yeah, it's you know, he's made as many as he can, and he has to put an advanced order in. It takes a while to get them back, and it's, you know, So it's, but yeah, a couple people I went through and I signed. He had me sign a bunch of them randomly. So a bunch of the ones that went out to shops were randomly signed, and which is something you kind of see in like the comic book world or the graphic novel world, which Foss is super into. Mm-hmm. So we just did that for fun, and somebody got one of the signed ones and put it on eBay for $1,000, and I heard that it sold. I haven't seen, like, I don't know how you check, but it's not on eBay anymore. So they either took it down or it sold. But yeah, it's wild to me that anyone would. I hope whoever gets that money or whoever makes that money, I hope they donate some money to the Henry Gartland Foundation, please. Like 10%, you know?
Wow.
But yeah, it's weird for a board that's still in shops. You can still buy them in shops. And there's another round of them coming out. So it's just bizarre.
What round is it on?
I think it's the 4th or 5th drop.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was your favorite meme?
Oh yeah, well the minor threat one that came out after the fact, like, dude, the out of stock one. I mean, this is the out of step, like, I mean, genius. But then
done so well.
But the one that won was this dude, and he went all in, like.
Hold on. I hate to interrupt you.
No.
Hey, child, zip it.
So,
she's just over there like
to
full on conversation. Like there's not anything going on over here. Hey, Aria, big old shit eating grin. Okay, zip it. All right, sorry.
She doesn't care. I love it. No.
She does not.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. She's punk as hell.
Punk, yeah, no. So we're listening to like Steven Universe. What's your favorite Steven Universe?
Is sick. I've shot their panel at Comic-Con before.
What?
The creator's amazing.
He got to shoot them, not like.
No, I got to film the lady that created.
She's not listening to us.
Yeah,
she has headphones.
She doesn't care. Yeah. Anyway,
we'll tell you.
I met Steven Universe in person. It's a whole.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah,
I'll tell you all that later.
You don't want to hear it.
Yeah, you don't care. We're boring adults. I agree completely. The kids are all right. But yeah, I thought the guy that won is that Instagram Nigel's Butt 2.0 at Nigel's Butt 2.0, and created basically took the shower scene from Psycho and took the stuffed egg and had the stuffed egg go into the shower and kill a curb, but it was animated, and there's an effects layer to make it grainy, and then the curb killer logo is spinning in the drain, and it's all the Foley from it was insane. It was
I haven't even seen that.
It's it would have been the commercial for the whole board if we'd had it ahead of time. You know, the production value was it was. Wow. Must have taken so much work, and so that was hands down. We saw that. Foss and I were both messaging each other I can't believe it's come to this.
Collectively agreed to
people.
That.
Yeah, people are actually creating these amazing. It was much more that we put it down as the standard meme. You just take a Spider-Man image and you put some bullshit fucking humor on it, and that was going to be enough. But it was just people really went in, and a lot of people edited videos. It was it wasn't just the response, the amount of memes. It was the amount of thought and effort people put into them was pretty insane. It was really rewarding.
That had to feel better than going pro. The fact that
I didn't go pro.
No, I know you didn't. I'm just saying.
Okay.
I know.
It's that people have said that to me, and I'm I got a guest model.
This is a guest model.
Yes.
I'm just saying when you were younger, where you're at now, and the fact that this all just is connected to you and your personality and the memes, and to have people creating these memes with your face on it.
Yeah.
And then you're bored. I mean, are you having a guest board? Your thing, all this, that has to be.
It's a dream come true, for sure. Nothing short. It has been surreal and one of the coolest experiences of my whole life. And the fact that it came out of this really dark time, is so weird but awesome, And my life is in a completely different place, and I'm just really thankful to be past all that stuff. And it's just I don't know. It's just something I never saw coming, It just all kind of happened, and
now you're talking about it.
Yeah, which is weird.
Yeah,
it's all weird. It's all fucking. Life is so fucking weird.
It is, but I did a podcast the other day where I got interviewed, and I'm talking about my story, and it's weird that I'm talking about this experience because you don't take that time to reflect on your life, because you obviously have affected a lot of people in a really positive way. And for someone, I think we're kind of the same in that sense, where we don't look at ourselves as that type of person. We just are who we are, and we don't take stock, or we don't look at our life and, Yeah, I am pretty cool.
And doggone it, people like me.
What happened to Al Franken, man? He's just like...
Dude, he got canceled. That was, I don't know, that was a weird one, dude.
I mean, a lot of them are weird because I still love Louis C.K.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, that one, I don't know. I don't know
What you want to get... I mean, he talked about what he did, in his stand-up. I don't know.
I mean, yeah. Oof. That's rough. That's rough.
I still like Woody Allen.
That one, you're on
It's
your
not like
own.
his movies. I know I'm on my own. I've tried to not argue with people. I'm like, they're still in love. And there's that voice here that's like, dude, come on.
I don't know.
But
man.
I love Annie Hall so much, man. I can never.
Well, Annie Hall, you can, I mean, that's like.
Testing, we're back. This is going to be interesting because we're going to have like these just random breaks
Yeah.
where it's just like stops.
You just need a standby slate or something. It's like TDs. It's like technical difficulty. And then it comes back. It's like, anyway. So that was my first time in a Roman orgy and I didn't walk right for a week. What were we talking about?
That.
Yeah.
We were just, I think we were actually
Caligula. Yes.
Caligula.
Uncle Caligi, I called them.
Good old Duncan. Oh, Malcolm McDowell was in that. That was a weird movie.
I haven't seen the movie, but I'm a big fan of all the stories of his life.
Orgies.
Just horrific,
Roman
bloody,
orgies.
snuff film style. He actually was a pedophile too, so I did not as he did everything bad.
Roman Polanski. I mean, I think
That's what we were talking.
Oh, we were
It's
talking
cancel
about
culture.
Woody. Council. We were talking about my affinity for Woody.
Right.
Not any of his actions outside of, but anyway.
Yeah.
I don't even know how he started. Where that came from.
I don't either. I think I was sort of like it's an interesting point though. Like, can you separate an artist from the art?
Yeah.
Was like
Yeah.
something that is, I've had this debate with lots of people. It's like, can you still listen to Michael Jackson? Or is that ruined for you? Or like reading Bukowski or Roman Polanski's movies or Woody Allen's movies.
Yeah, and then
It's
we got deep into talking about that with the people in the skateboard industry too, which
Right.
we're not going to bore you with.
Yeah. Fuck that.
Yeah, we talked about it for 30 minutes while we were waiting. So
Yeah, the battery died, and you guys missed out on some heavy shit.
Yeah, it was really heavy. You guys should figure it out. Though.
We solved a lot of problems too. I think the world would have benefited from.
Oh, I think we would have fixed it.
We did
Because it's about fixing.
technically fix it.
Did we?
Fix everything. Yeah, I think we did.
I
just didn't take. It wasn't recorded.
Damn. I think we were like we were wrapping it up because
Yeah.
I think I have like a half a bar left. I mean, this is probably the
A
longest.
Zanny bar? No, the battery.
A Zanny
Sorry.
boy. That's why I got this face.
Are you a rapper?
Face tattoo.
You
I
have
got-
the face
I got
tattoo.
it, and then I got the Zannies. What you need. So we were just talking about you were hoping that how do we get into Woody Allen? Anyway, child molestation is wrong. I just would like to put that out there. I don't know if he
I'm
did
so
or
glad
not.
that's
I know
in
there's
my episode.
accusations in there, but
It's
yeah.
a bold stance. I'm glad you took it here.
Oh man, well. Do you want to give? It's just
Was that what going on?
segue. Let me
Right.
segue out of this. Like
Yes.
I'm Paul Blart right now. Just like let me get on that and just let me try to divert, create a diversion, knock the microphone over and
Smoke.
Just, this never happened. You want to do some like shout outs or thank yous because I know you wanted to. That record in the background is
Oh yeah, that's a new. So my girlfriend Sarah June Remich. She's got guest vocals on this thing. It's Trappist, the newest album on that. She's an incredible like grindcore death metal vocalist.
Yeah, you played me a little sample
Yeah,
of it.
yeah. Watch Me Burn. Her band, Watch Me Burn. They're not together anymore.
Oh,
but
yeah, but
they had
her-
like a long. They've got a lot of albums out, and she's got an incredible voice. So pick that album up. Those guys. One of the dudes in Trappist also owns Gorilla Mall. If you're in Alhambra,
Oh, he
like
does?
Yeah, he's like a heavy metal themed hamburger place. I've got this tattoo so that I can get half off burgers for the rest of my life.
I think you should be getting burgers for free for the rest of your life, to be honest with you.
I mean,
they actually hooked it
boys.
up. We did a contest with them when I had my undergrad. They hooked us up with stuff. They've always been like really
rad.
cool and connected to the scene. My buddy Andy, who was in Street Trash, has done a lot of the art that they.
Oh, rad.
Wait, he works for the skateboard company that does all the punk rock weird like shapes. They're inside.
Oh yeah,
Gorilla Mall.
Yeah.
I think he's done.
They do have boards on the wall. Yeah,
he's done like the painting stuff too on
That's
on
so
the
rad.
wall. I just want to throw that out there so I can feel included.
Well, no, yeah. I mean, that's how it's a small world, right? Like,
yeah, no, it is.
I mentioned one burger place, and you know everybody. It's no, but it's like I mean, other shout outs. I think like here we gotta wrap it up fast though. Wrap it up fast though.
We got a red bar.
I mean, I would say big thanks to Jordan and iDouble for making the part happen. Big thanks to you, Kasper, for giving a shit and even having me talk about my bullshit life here, which is not bullshit. I don't know.
No,
but
it's been insightful, man, and I really appreciate the fact that you opened up your doors to let me come in. Literally, like we're doing it at your place, and
it's my pleasure. This is rad. It's been cathartic. I haven't been paying a therapist in a while, so this was good for me. So I appreciate,
you can just
appreciate the
you
free
can tell
therapy.
me what's free.
Shit.
I'm trying to get paid over here, bro.
Drop the eggs at the door there. What's it? Eggs.
Eggs. It all goes like
you
full
get it?
circle.
That was intentional. We wrote that. That was the one written.
The one.
Speaking of eggs, thank you to Foss at Heroin. That's about it. You know, who else did I mention? Tom Carter, Brian Reardon, Tom Curran. Like all those people have had a huge impact on my life as friends and colleagues and shit. And I don't know what else to fucking say, dude. Skateboarding is the best, and go waste your time with skateboarding. It's the best way to waste time.
Define what it means to be free in less than 30 seconds. That's like the theme. What does it mean to be free?
Oh man, oh shit! I wish you emailed me this and gave me. I mean, freedom is like it's. I think that there's something about like when you lose the life, when you lose things in your life, you hitting rock bottom, right? Like that, there's a freedom in that, and that's you can do anything you want. That's one of the crazy things about when I say like nothing matters. I just really mean like you're not limited to anything. You can fuck up as bad as you can fuck up, and you can start over. I mean, losing everything just means the slate's clean. So yeah, that's it. Ended up changed my life at 41 for the better, just because, and not on purpose. It's just something that happened, and it turned into like a better path, better trajectory than I was on. I'm healthier now, probably mentally and physically, than I've been in my adult life. So
nothing matters, but everything matters.
Right. Sure. That's one way to say it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you got nothing to lose, right? You're going to be fucking dead in a box one day. So
yeah.
Get to work.
I mean, really, the only thing that matters is that people subscribe to this channel if they haven't done so already.
Right. Other than that, pretty much no rules.
That's all you got to do in this life is just click that right there, subscribe to this channel.
Right.
Make sure you check out Heroin Skateboards. Check out the links that we're going to be putting in the description down below. If you're listening to the audio on Spotify, Apple Podcast, the links will be there as well. Dude, Ira, thank you so much.
No, dude, thank you, Kasper. I appreciate it.
This is the end?
I think so, of all things.
This is it.
Right. It's sad. I want to keep talking. Maybe the espresso is still kind of there.
No, it is a little bit. But I will be like slightly depressed after we get done, because this has been it. This has been the reality for the last 3 hours. And I've really enjoyed myself.
Remember when I said it couldn't go longer than an hour?
Yeah. I'm always terrible about ending. I'm like, where do we end?
Well, just call me after this. We can keep talking. This is fun.
Oh, we can do that?
Yeah, we're friends.
Oh. That is good to know. Good to know. Thank you guys for watching. Oh, yeah. Another thing. Support Confusion Magazine.
Oh, yeah.
Actually.
Skateboarding print, dude.
Yeah, this is really one of the only all DIY skate magazines out there, Confusion. And there's a pretty rad photo in here. Can you see that?
I'm sure they
I
can.
shot that.
Oh, dude. No wonder it's so good.
Yeah, it's so amazing. Look at that. And you could own
Which
your own
one? That's
copy.
a spread.
That one.
So there's 3 photos that you
Three
shot.
photos, yeah. Why am I making this about me? I'm gonna do this later. Make sure you subscribe to
No, fuck that. This is
confusionmagazine.com as well. But I actually shared this article with Clayton Grawl, which I'm really stoked on, who runs Skate DIY and Urban Skate Project.
Clayton's rad.
Oh, so rad.
Support all like independent skate media.
Yes.
For us, by us.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah. What does it say on your leg? And so it goes. And so it goes. You just watched another episode of Screaming at a Wall. We appreciate you being here. Peace.
Thanks for throwing in one more reference that's off camera.
What are you rebelling against?
What do you got?
We were trying to change something.
Skateboarding is a way of learning how to redefine the world around you.
The owners of this country don't care about the poor and young.
Now, baby, push me. Push me again.
Screaming at a wall.